Get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Jewels on Hampton in St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, and fine watches. Bring your collectibles and clocks, sports memorabilia, and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa. Call them at 314-752-5000. That's 314-752-5000. So if you need some extra cash, looking for that one-of-a-kind piece, make Jewels on Hampton your first stop. Jewels on Hampton in St. Louis Hills.
Hey homeowners, it's time to transform your house into a masterpiece with Lakeside Renovation and Design, your James Hardie siding experts. Picture this, durable, weather-resistant siding that doesn't just protect, but elevates your home's value and curb appeal. James Hardie, the gold standard in siding, installed by the pros at Lakeside. Say goodbye to maintenance headaches and hello to a home that stands the test of time. Ready for a siding upgrade? Lakeside Renovation and Design is your go-to. Visit our showroom or call today. Unleash the potential of your home with James Hardie Siding.
Download the free Upside app and earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Download the free Upside app now and use promo code GIFT for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's promo code GIFT.
Mark Cox here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how to link to the market without the risk. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go online to retirementkey.com.
The Annie Fry Show YouTube live chat poll of the day is sponsored by Ruler Foods. Low prices, no coupons. Ruler Foods.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
There are some, about a third of Americans, worried that the president doesn't have the vitality to serve out another 4 years. Do you think that it's time to pass the baton to a new generation of leadership, or do you think Joe Biden is the strongest candidate to defeat Donald Trump?
Well, Joe Biden is definitely the strongest candidate to defeat Donald Trump.
That's Hakeem Jeffries talking about Joe Biden's shot at defeating Donald Trump in November. But again, this is from Alyssa Farah. This is not a Fox News question to Hakeem Jeffries. What network is she on?
This was on The View.
This was on The View. So Hakeem Jeffries was on The View. And so not really like friendly Trump territory. They are talking about Joe Biden's vitality. So this issue isn't a right-wing conspiracy of sorts. It's not a Fox News story of sorts. This is starting to permeate in a really measurable way all the nooks and crannies of the media. Here's more from Hakeem.
In terms of President Biden, he's got an incredible track record of success.
Right.
And we just have to connect that track record of success with his vision for the next 4 years and make it clear that the things that he has presided over have been extraordinary. From, the American Rescue Plan, where we put shots in arms, money in pockets, kids back in school, rescued the economy from a once-in-a-century pandemic and have now allowed that economy to emerge as the strongest in the world. Still more work that needs to be done, but an incredible foundation.
And there you hear it. The key to the we're doing a great job storyline is compared to the rest of the world. That's the measuring stick for the Democrats right now in the Joe Biden administration. And you've heard Joe Biden making these comments regularly about, our economy compared to the economies of the rest of the world. Is it good that we're doing better than other economies across the globe? Yes. How do you measure it? And is that enough? Because I would like to measure the success of the United States of America based on our own potential and how much of that potential we have actually reached. Welcome back to the Andy Fry Show. We're happy to have you here on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis's home for conservative talk. We've got Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg coming up here in about 15 minutes from now. So we haven't had him on for a few weeks, so we're looking forward to having him back on the show. Will Scharf is going to be in the studio with us in the 1 o'clock hour once again for a couple segments. And one of my favorite things to do with Will Scharf is take your questions and pose them to Will and let him answer, because he is very good at understanding law, of course. He is a former federal prosecutor for the Eastern District of Missouri. And he can kind of help comb through and separate and organize all of these different legal issues that are facing the Biden side, the Trump side, the Fani Willis side, so on and so forth. There's a lot to discuss, so Will Scharf will be in here. And if you've got questions for him, make sure you note in the YouTube live chat, question for Will. Last night, Donald Trump did a town hall. And I think that every time that he goes into a forum like a town hall, he's sitting there on a stage surrounded by stands of people on a chair with Laura Ingraham across the stage, and he's answering her questions. And he also took some questions from the crowd. I think that he does well in this setting. Brad, you were saying that you think that this is his best setting?
This is his best setting. I think when he gets on stage and he's doing a speech, I think he lets the crowd's energy take him away and he gets a little less disciplined. Which what he does is he gets in this mindset, hey, we're all friends here, which, yeah, almost everybody at a MAGA rally is MAGA hardcore. But that doesn't mean that the video and the audio, that stuff doesn't get out, and then they can then use what he says and spin it in a way that isn't what he intended to say to his audience. When he gets on this, like Laura Ingraham did a wonderful job of keeping him on topic.
Yeah, I thought she did. She has a tendency to talk over people and finish people's sentences. Her transitions from, if she's got a panel and she's got two people on there, especially if it's someone she disagrees with, she's such an abrupt way of pulling out of the conversation with guest A and transitioning to guest B. It's just very abrasive. I've met her multiple times, and it's just her personality. It's just how she is. I think she's incredibly good at what she does, and she's very, very smart. So I love listening to her and taking it in. But she did let Donald Trump last night speak, and then a few times there were some rough transitions away from Trump to wanting to get to a guest who in the audience who was going to ask a question, but you could tell she was trying to get it all in an hour, and that was a reflection. But I thought Donald Trump did well last night. Let's listen to some of the things. Here's him talking about Biden.
Well, he's declined, and there's no question about it, but he was always sort of semi-declined if you go back 25 years. No, but he was not one of the smarter people. He's tried to be president many times, 4 times at least that they know of. And all of a sudden, when he's most diminished, this is when he hit, and he did it. But if you look at me, I feel, and I really mean this, and I would tell you, and I think you tell me too, because we've known each other a long time, if I felt diminished, okay, let's use a nice term, if I felt diminished or declined anyway, I think I'd know it. And I think I'd say, I'm not running. Somebody should talk to him. But if he runs, he runs.
So he's comparing that idea of age being the thing that is disqualifying for Joe Biden. It isn't the age of Joe Biden. It's how you use it. Of course, with age comes experience. We understand that. That's kind of the page that Joe Biden is trying to take out of the Ronald Reagan playbook a bit, from Ronald Reagan's famous quip in that debate. But, I mean, ever since that Her report came out and they classified him as a well-meaning elderly man, everything after that, now I said this before, everything after the Her report has a folder to go into in the filing cabinet in your brain.
Yep.
Now you know when he kind of stumbles, going up the short stairs to go on to Air Force One, that goes in the well-meaning elderly man folder. And people outside of, direct influence on politics have the opportunity to start commenting on it.
No, I think they're going to get rid of him. I think they're going to move him out. They're going to force him to step down. That's what I think. If I had to guess, and it's just speculation, I'd say they're setting up Gavin Newsom for it.
Now, Joe Rogan there is having a conversation about what they're going to do with Joe Biden, and he's saying that they're going to get rid of them. I don't know how much Will can comb through this for us. Maybe, Brad, you can text him and ask him about how much he understands about what takes place at a convention and how they could come in and say, no Joe Biden, Michelle Obama. No Joe Biden, Gavin Newsom. I'm actually more convinced that Gavin Newsom is setting himself up to replace Joe Biden for the Democrats in this election because of how much of a lapdog he's been for Joe Biden. Because Gavin Newsom can't come in and replace Joe Biden on the ticket and look the entire time like he was hunting to take the old, well-meaning, elderly man out. That doesn't translate. There are people who are going to have sympathy for Joe Biden. If Joe Biden does, in fact, say one day that he's stepping down, and it appears to the masses that it was of Joe Biden's own decision that he's removing himself from the ticket, then that opens the door for whomever else might receive that opportunity to replace Joe Biden on the ticket. And that person needs to look like they were asked to do it, not like they infiltrated the situation and took out the old man. And Gavin Newsom, I mean, he's been kind of gross in the way that he has been propping up Joe Biden with such confidence and affection. I think the affection is what you can tell, that there is like a sympathy that is laid upon Joe Biden when Gavin Newsom is talking about him. I think it's, to me, obvious that Gavin Newsom knows that the possibility exists that they might need to go to the bench. And he's like, choose me, choose me, choose me. And Michelle Obama's like, do not choose me. And then they're like, but you're the only one who could win. That's my thought on it. Last night, we listened to Donald Trump talking more about his VP choice, which I think is a very interesting conversation. I think it's important to remember that this town hall was taking place in South Carolina before the South Carolina primary on Saturday.
One of them was, of course, Vivek Ramaswamy. He's made a big splash. Ron DeSantis, who's making an appearance today in South Carolina, we just found out. Obviously, Tim Scott, Byron Donalds, and a big presence here for Tulsi Gabbard. Very interesting. And Kristi Noem as well, I should say. Right. Are they all on your short list? And when can we expect that you will announce your choice?
The one thing that always surprises me is that the VP choice has absolutely no impact. It's whoever the president is. It just seems. I remember when Sarah Palin was actually picked, and she did have a big up, and then they just went after her at a level that nobody's seen. The Republicans themselves went after what they did.
But you'll be a one-term president because you've already served, so you can only serve for one term, although they say you'll never leave office. I assume that you'll never leave. There'll never be another election
don't
again.
Do it. He'll never leave. He's never going. Oh, these people.
I'm surprised he didn't say, remember, I'm just going to be dictator for one day. That's like a total Trump troll thing to do. But he did not say that. It is important that they choose somebody who can pick up the ball and continue to move it down the field after Donald Trump's last 4 years in office. And Tim Scott was sitting there in the audience, and Donald Trump pointed to him, and they're like, a lot of people are talking about this guy. But Donald Trump didn't say Tim Scott. And the camera didn't immediately show Tim Scott. And I think it might have been like within the previous 5 minutes or so, they had a guy from the audience come up and ask a question. And Trump was like, oh, I really like that question. I really like this guy. I thought he was talking about that guy. When I thought he was pointing to the dude in this, like just doing a, I didn't know what he was doing. I don't think it's DeSantis. I don't think it's Byron Donalds. I don't think it's going to be someone from Florida. I don't think that it benefits them in any way to be from Florida. I don't think that putting Tim Scott on the ticket is going to win Donald Trump South Carolina, because I think he's going to win South Carolina without Tim Scott on it. I think that Tim Scott is such a positive energy force that counteracts the sour nature that Donald Trump often brings into a room with him for people who just wake up to detest him.
I would agree with that 1,000%. That was always my argument for Tim Scott. He is the counterweight. Same energy level, different kind of energy, positive energy. He's also a little more calm than Donald Trump. So he brings a levelness to the table, security to the table, where if they go, well, if something happens to Donald Trump, Tim Scott wouldn't be a bad guy to have as president. You know, that's the feeling that he brings. And that's always what I've thought Donald Trump needed to offset his campaign or to balance his campaign. It's kind of like why they picked Mike Pence whenever Trump ran the first time. His Mike Pence's energy was traditional republicanism, and Donald Trump was the outsider, and so it kind of balanced the ticket, and I think that's what Tim Scott does. I don't know if Vivek Ramaswamy does, but I think that Vivek's energy is good with the young people, with the young vote.
Yeah, I said this to you last night. I think that Vivek Ramaswamy is a force that would be much more difficult to contain in the Trump world. I think that he would be a compelling choice for VP. I'm not sold on wanting Ramaswamy to be the president quite yet in general. Maybe 4 years would change that. But I really do believe that Ramaswamy is, in some cases, uncontainable, and I don't think that Trump wants uncontainable.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there. Donald Trump wants to be the spotlight. He wants the energy and the spotlight and the focus on him. And an uncontainable Vivek would draw from that attention, and I don't think he would like that part of it.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Trump Town Hall a little bit later in the show. We've got Will Scharf in studio with us in the 1 o'clock hour for a couple segments, starting at 1:05. We also have Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg coming up with us next here on the Annie Frey Show. I'm very excited to connect with him again. Also, we are giving away James Taylor tickets during this show twice. So you're going to want to stick with us. I'll tell you right now, we'll give away a set in the 1 o'clock hour and a set in the 2 o'clock hour. But you got to be listening to the Annie Frey Show and ready to call when Ryan Wiggins gives you the heads up. James Taylor tickets later on in the show. Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg when we come back.
This is the Annie Frey Show. Follow Annie on Twitter @Annie Frey Show.
Jen Teskey's waiting for your phone call, and I was just talking with Jen a little bit earlier today. I just enjoy her company, and when you start looking to sell your home, or if you've started the process of looking to buy a home, maybe you have somebody who's moving into the area, and they're going to live on the Illinois side of the river here in the St. Louis metro region. You want Jen Teskey and RE/MAX Alliance to help them have the best experience welcoming those folks into the area. Here's how you get a hold of her. Just type this number in your phone and save it as Jen Teskey, Teske, and give her a call or a text when it is convenient for you. 618-541-1010. 618-541-1010. She gives you 15 years plus of experience helping families like yours buy and sell homes on the Illinois side of the river. She has a dedicated team of professionals who are going to treat you like family to help make sure that the home that you're selling and the home that you're buying, this is all done in a seamless process with the best upfront and honest experience that you demand and should require when you go through a real estate transaction. Jen Teskey, RE/MAX Alliance, 618-541-1010, 618-541-1010, online at jenteskeyhomes.com.
Now is a great time to start planning your next outdoor project with my friends at Chesterfield Fence and Deck. Mark Cox here. You know, they're in their 56th year of business in the region. This is a locally owned and operated company since 1968. And Chesterfield Fence and Deck has such great options for you for your fence, for your decking. They've got regular wood, right? Natural cedar decks, and they've got Vecadeck vinyl decking, and they got a brand new color available this year. It's pewter. It's a gorgeous gray color that has beautiful variation throughout it for more of a natural look. Of course, they do custom sunrooms and screen rooms and pergolas and patios. You name it, they can do it for you at Chesterfield Fence and Deck. If you need inspiration, call them up, go to their website, ChesterfieldFence.com, or visit their showroom in the Valley. Mention my name, Mark Cox, and get a special discount for 48 months interest-free financing for February or March. Go online to ChesterfieldFence.com.
You want to retire soon, but everyone keeps telling you to wait until you're 65. After all, that's the age that you qualify for Medicare and you're close to full retirement age. I'm Marvin Mitchell, president of Compass Retirement Solutions. In my new book, Retire Early, The 9 Critical Decisions When Retiring Before 65, I discuss proper planning to help make early retirement possible. When to take Social Security, what to do with your 401k, health care, how to maximize retirement income, and much more. Get a complimentary copy of Retire Early by calling 1-800-743-8510. That's 1-800-743-8510. Can you retire early? Call 1-800-743-8510 for your copy of Retire Early, the 9 critical decisions when retiring before 65.
Investments and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and Illinois. Compass Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-652-5241 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-652-5241. That's 800-652-5241. What do you have to lose? Call 800-652-5241. Again, 800-652-5241.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. 9 out of 10 homes are under-insulated. Keep the air you're paying to heat where it should be with 15% off attic insulation. For a free estimate on attic insulation, visit aircomfortservice.com.
Are you a business owner? Do you want your voice and the voices of your clients represented? Let us do the talking. Join our community of free thinkers on St. Louis's home for conservative talk. Learn more at 971talk.com/partner.
What holds your heart?
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show on St. Louis's home for conservative talk. Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Fry Show.
The cares you keep, the thoughts you think, it's not all wasted time. Seeking you will find. Joy still comes in the morning.
Demanding an immediate, unconditional ceasefire without an agreement requiring Hamas to release the hostages will not bring about a durable peace. Instead, it could extend the fighting between Hamas and Israel, extend the hostages' time in captivity, an experience described by former hostages as hell.
Well, there's the UN ambassador negotiating or pushing back against the ceasefire that with the UN, talking about the importance of the relieving of the hostages that are a part of this situation between Israel and Hamas, which carries on. The Ukraine-Russia conflict carries on. Tensions continue to rise in every nook and cranny in the world, and it doesn't seem like we have our finger on the pulse of what needs to happen to alleviate tensions and yet still advocate for the good guy in these conflicts. We go to our expert friend, Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg. He's a former national security advisor to the Trump administration, as well as the co-chair of the Center for American Security at America First Policy Institute. General, thank you for coming back on the show with us.
Hi, Annie. Thanks for having me. Good to be with you.
Of course. You know, I want to give you the opportunity to set the table a little bit for us. When we hear ceasefire, we've been hearing that word for quite some time from the likes of Representative Tlaib, who has been calling for a ceasefire from the very beginning. And now it's being discussed at the UN. Who is asking for what by way of a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas right now?
Yeah, Annie, we'll start with that. I think a ceasefire is foolish in any regard. And the vote yesterday was actually 13-1 with one abstention. The Brits abstained. We were the only ones who vetoed it in the UN Security Council. But we haven't, because that was a full ceasefire. But we've been talking about, this administration has been talking about a limited ceasefire. That's wrong, too. There shouldn't be any ceasefire. I mean, here's where you get to an end state. It is unconditional surrender, eradication of Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization. They have killed Americans. They have captured Americans and still hold some of them under captivity. They're not good people. And what the Israelis are trying to do is eradicate a threat on their territorial border. Hamas invaded Israel on the 7th of October, brutally massacred scores of people, and they are taking what they should do, is taking stock of the situation and eliminating Hamas. And that means going into Rafah. And the reason why I think not everybody, people want to see a ceasefire is they realize that where the Israelis are going, Rafah is the last holdout. Once they clear Rafah, which is right on the border of Egypt, they've kind of controlled now all of Gaza militarily. And they can go systematically through it and reduce and eliminate Hamas. That needs to be done. I think anybody talking about ceasefire is foolish. Just say, nope. We look to the Israelis and say, whatever you need to get it done, do it. We're with you. Thank you very much. Call me when you're done.
It seems to me like that's kind of what's been the attitude has been towards Ukraine. You know, we're sending a lot of money over there, and I understand that even on the right side of the aisle, there's some disagreement as to the benefit of doing that and the necessity of doing that. But we seem to be very concerned about what's going on with Israel and very active and aggressive on trying to manipulate that situation. How has Hamas, from October 7th, when they first levied this attack against Israel, how have they fared up until this point in the middle of February of the following year?
When you say how well they fared, you mean militarily?
Yeah, has Israel weakened Hamas?
Yeah. Yeah, they have. They've done. They're not done, but they've. I think they've got something like 28 what they call battalions, fighting units, and they've reduced about 18 of them, the Israelis, and they've got to finish them all out. So they're doing a good job. But this is going to take. They're going to have to be a real hard discussion what happens next, what follows on from this, because they can't continue to have the situation Israel can't about having a threat like this on the very edge of Gaza and on the border with Israel. Yeah. So are they doing a good job? Yeah. They are eradicating to the best they can Hamas. The answer is yeah. But the threat is still there. It'll take a while to do it. I think that's why there's a lot of people trying to push back on Israel getting the ceasefire, because they see where Israel is going. I believe Netanyahu's right. There should be no discussions until they've completed their military operations. So it's going well. It's hard. Anytime you fight in cities, if you're in the military, it's a very, very difficult operation to do it. They're losing soldiers. But I think they've got the right attitude and the right philosophy on what to do next.
We're speaking with the former national security advisor to the Trump administration, Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, with us here on the Annie Frey Show right now. If you don't eradicate them completely, you're kind of setting the tone for what's going to happen in the future, I would assume.
Yeah, you do. But that's the reason why what they've done, and I think it's smart. You're seeing the Israelis going after the senior leadership as well. And that's what you need to do. It's not so much the rank and file as you kill the senior leaders. Believe it or not, it's sort of like what we did in Iraq when you had, Petraeus was running the Grand Forces, and then you had General McChrystal running the Special Operations Forces. And their focus was in Iraq at the time during the Iraq War, where Petraeus would do the daily fight. And then every night, Stan McChrystal's teams, his special ops teams, would go out and kill leadership. And you reach a point where nobody wants to be a leader anymore. Thank you very much. I prefer not to do this. And I think that's where you kind of want to get to. So it's not just necessarily the foot soldiers. The importance is to eradicate the leadership. And I will tell you, based on the history of Mossad and the Israeli intelligence forces, I wouldn't put it past them that they're eventually going to take out everybody that's involved in this from Hamas. If I was a senior leader of Hamas, I wouldn't be sleeping well at night, or I'd be way far away from the region right now. And that's how you do it. You break the back by eradicating the leadership. We did the same thing. When we killed Soleimani and the Iranian 3-star commander of the Quds Force, probably one of the most charismatic officers in the Iranian military, it was designed to send a message that you couldn't replace him. And they haven't been able to. They've put in a guy, the Iranians, named Ismail Ghani, who replaced Soleimani, but is nowhere the leader and nowhere as charismatic. You do the same thing with ISIS. When we killed al-Baghdadi, they put a couple people in under ISIS to follow him. We've killed them off too. Most people can't even name who the current leader of ISIS is, because nobody really wants to be that leader. And that's really how you have to handle it. It's systematic. It's hard, but you got to do it.
So when we hear people calling for ceasefire, when it's being discussed at the UN, what we have seen by way of trying to defend civilians who the people in Hamas are putting these civilians in front of them and putting them in harm's way. Once again, Hamas is making that choice. What is the UN like? How do they come to the table and say we need a ceasefire? And also understand what you're saying, which is Israel's never going to be safe if Hamas continues to exist. How do they get away with sleeping? Like, how do they sleep at night saying, but we also need a ceasefire?
Well, welcome to the UN. I mean, this is the way the UN is. The UN is not an ally of the United States. It never has been. You look at the non-allied nations and some of the other nations. I mean, look at the vote. 13-1 against us. Really? That means not only did the Brits abstain, but that means the French weren't for us either. You said, wait a second, we're all these nations who are supposed to be allies of ours, and this desert us in Israel when it really needs to be done. There should have been numerous votes of no on that. And people just say, no, we're not going to go there. But they do that all of the time. That's the frustration I get when they talk a good game, but when it comes right down to it, they don't play the game as well. So that's the reason I'd say, as the United States of America, my recommendation to a president was you turn to Bibi Netanyahu and his coalition government and you say, tell us when the job's done. Thank you very much. See ya. And we don't do that. I mean, to me, national security is hard enough without putting so many variables in it. Make it really clean, make it concise, make it professional, and execute.
Is America failing to lead in this regard? Is this an administration that is failing to lead and persuade the UN? Do you not even care really what the UN has to say in this regard? What's the national home front role in trying to guide the world in its reaction to this conflict in the Middle East?
Yeah, let me explain it more generally than that, because it's a laissez-faire attitude right now of this administration, how it goes after national security. I'll give you 5 areas. The 5 critical national security areas to me is the border of the United States, the status of the United States military, then your 3 regional areas, Ukraine, Russia, the Middle East, and the Far East. Okay, when it came to the border, when we left the last administration, when Trump left, the border was secure with remaining Mexico. Today, the border is wide open. Millions have come across. More people have come across the border illegally than in 35 plus of our states' populations. So we got a problem. You look at the military today. When we left the military, the recruiting levels, they're meeting 100% of the force structure. Today, the Army, Navy, Air Force is manning at 66%. They're going on incredible overreach on a lot of budgets. They're breaking the budget. It's a broken system, and to include the wokeness of it. When you look at the Middle East right now, when we left, the Middle East was really stable. We'd put out a plan called Peace to Prosperity, which was to bring in the Palestinians into a peace agreement. We'd set up the Abraham Accords. Now it's a cauldron of violence, and it's just totally broken. When you look at Ukraine, with Russia. When we left, Ukraine was not at war. 2014, Russia had invaded Crimea. Then under Biden, Russia's invaded Ukraine as well. It didn't happen under our watch. What we did was we were the first tranche of offensive weapons. The Javelin systems were given under Trump. The place was at peace. You look at the Far East right then, Kim Jong-un was under control. Kim Jong-un is now shooting missiles. And you've got an emergent China that we thought we'd at least had some balance on. So on balance, when you look at those the five national security issues, when you look what we were handling, what we were doing, and recognizing the problems and handling that, we were fine. If you look at the current administration, it's all broken. The problem, Annie, is trying to bring this all back into a box again. It is so hard when you've got multiple problems to try and resolve these or put them back in a form of status quo, or at least status quo anti area. It's just almost right now. It's almost impossible to do. And my concern is each one of these areas is a flashpoint. For example, let's just use the Middle East. What happens if a Houthi missile actually hits a warship? Nearly hit the USS Gravely, which is a destroyer. If that Houthi missile had hit a U.S. warship and it had sunk in the Red Sea, that would have been the first capital Navy ship we had lost in wartime since World War II. 300 sailors on board. Wow. What would have been our reaction then? And they're still shooting them at us. So you have to ask yourself the question, why don't you take some action that makes sure the Iranians, who are the sponsor of this, knows you do this, you're going to pay a major price. But nothing's been said out of it. And the reason I used the Gravely, they had to use the last level of defense, which is called the Phalanx Seaward system, just to down that missile. It's just a matter of time till something catastrophic happens, and then where do you go? And I can show you through each level of the areas we just talked about where there could be a flashpoint, and then you've got a major problem you're going to have to address. And I don't think this administration is prepared for it at all.
It feels very much like the clock is ticking on a whole host of issues. Before we let you go, Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg with us right now. Is the status of those 5 areas that you just very wonderfully laid out for us, are those sins of omission or commission by this administration? Is it intentional, or is it because they're terrible at their jobs?
Honestly, Annie, I think it's both.
Okay.
I think they've come in and they've said, this is kind of the way it is. Look, it is so important that national security advisors, they're really talented people, and you hope they are, and they can give good advice. You think about it. They have good historical background and knowledge. I am now absolutely convinced that the advisors that this president has are really subpar. When you look at Tony Blinken, remember Tony Blinken, Senator John McCain on the floor of the Senate, said, go back and look at the testimony he had when, this is years ago, he thought Blinken, now our Secretary of State, was a threat to America. And you look at Jake Sullivan, and Jake Sullivan has made bad decision after bad decision. Example, recently in the Foreign Affairs magazine, which is a very good magazine, one of the premier magazines in national security, he said just recently they had to revise and extend his remarks. He wrote in that magazine that the Mideast is as quiet as it's been in the last 2 decades. Oops, then this thing will work out with Hamas. They had to change. They actually allowed him to change his remarks in the Foreign Affairs magazine. That's all public record. Just go check it out. So you ask yourself the same question. Are these people really that good? No, they're not. Is it omission and commission? It's probably both. They're in over their heads.
Man, it's embarrassing, but it's also of great consequence, which is the frightening part of it. Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, thank you. We are always so grateful for your time. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Bye-bye. The former National Security Advisor to the Trump administration, co-chair of the Center for American Security at America First Policy Institute. Gosh, that guy knows some things, and it's always great that he is willing to give us some of his time. Great connection there. Love our relationship with the America First Policy Institute and the opportunities they provide us. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Wiggins America. When we come back, the headline that he gave us is stories that might be positive but might not be. It's just literally what he writes, right? Stories that might be positive but might not be. Yes, that's what we're going to do when we come back, and we're going to have a great time. This segment, Wiggins America, might be positive, but it might not be. We'll be right back.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
We lost our way from home.
Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
The child inside, we left for growing old. Awake, awake, awake.
talk to you about Thomas Helbig, and one of the longtime supporters of 97.1 and the Annie Fry Show. Thomas Helbig, I've known him for so long, is a wonderful person, and he is your key, your retirement key to worry-free enjoyment. So you're in that position in life where you're about to shift. You're about to come out of your working years. It's really all you can remember and all you've ever known. You've trudged through the years of maybe raising kids and trying to figure out how am I supposed to put pennies aside while I'm trying to afford everything I need for children or maybe college tuition and so on and so forth. But you figured it out. You saved, you've waited for this time, and it's about to be upon you. Now, how do you make sure that you set yourself up for the biggest possible success once retirement gets here? Well, that's simple. You call my friend and a great supporter of this station, Thomas Helbig, 314-993-9494, 314-993-9494. The Retirement Advisory Group family business that involves Thomas Helbig, Bob Kershaw, and Tammy Kershaw are going to help you exhale and get that worry-free retirement you've always dreamt of. You make an appointment with them. It costs you nothing to sit down. You have zero obligation after you have that meeting, and then you choose for yourself. Get all the details at retirementkey.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
STL Today is named Under Law 2023's best St. Louis law firm. We'll continue to make a difference, one case at a time.
When you're injured, call Under Law at 314 or 618-9000000.
I was having a lot of sinus infections. My sinuses were clogged, pressure, headaches.
Linda suffered for years with chronic sinus infections.
You don't feel like doing anything. When you feel like your head is completely clogged, all you want to do is just lay down and sleep. And the pressure, it's just not fun, always walking around with a headache.
Now, her issues are gone. How? A minimally invasive procedure done in the office of St. Louis Sinus Centers called balloon sinuplasty.
I really did not know what it was like to feel like you're really breathing and not being so clogged up. I would do it again in a heartbeat, and I would definitely recommend it for someone else.
Do you suffer with chronic sinus infections, facial pain, pressure, congestion? Find out if balloon sinuplasty is the solution for you. Set an appointment today with St. Louis Sinus Centers. Call 314-332-2885. 314-332-2885. That's 314-332-2885.
You wouldn't trust a butcher to babysit your pet pig. You wouldn't trust a lumberjack to repair your antiques. Or a professional wrestler to be your massage therapist. So why would you trust anyone but AMCO to fix your car? For over 50 years, we've been the trusted experts in transmission repair.
AMCO offers easy payment plan options for most any credit situation, so you can fix it fast and pay it off slow at AMCO.
AA MCO.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-700-6898. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-700-6898. That's 800-700-6898 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
Man, we do some tough polls on this show. This one's really tough. The Annie Fry YouTube live chat poll of the day. When was dating harder? The 1900s or the 2000s?
I've been taking medication. I don't know. I'm running out of polls.
You're blaming the poll on the medicine? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
When was dating harder, the 1900s or the 2000s? Let us know, because you just have those 2 choices, and we want to know why you think what you think.
Yeah, we need your comments on the YouTube channel, and comments like this one, Gus. Hey, Brad, could you please let Wiggins know his hat is on backwards?
Oh, thanks, Gus.
Good looking out, Gus.
Your hat's on backwards.
Thanks, Brad. Via Gus. Appreciate that. 1248. This time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
Kellogg.com. Whatever happens next happens here. Your trusted voice for 23 years. This is St. Louis's home for conservative talk. 97.1 FM Talk.
This ain't no disco. It ain't no country club either. This is LA.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Twitter @Annie Fry Show.
He says his name is William. I'm sure he's Bill, Billy, or Mac or Buddy. And he's playing ugly to me.
Wiggins! Oh! Wiggins! As Annie said, these are stories.
As you said.
As Annie said.
I was quoting you.
These are stories that you have to decide whether they're positive or negative. Are they a net positive or net negative?
The show sheet says today, ooh, careful. Wiggins America, stories that might be positive but might not be.
Well, I don't know if that might have been Brad. You might have been quoting Brad, paraphrasing Ryan there.
Brad was quoting what Ryan sent in
Sure,
the
that's
group
fine.
DM.
That's fine. Take a big old dump on me. We'll just go forward.
Ew.
So the first story.
Highly unnecessary. Not positive. I vote not positive.
That's a terrible story.
Okay. And that was the first one. That is correct.
Thank you. Yes.
The second one is this.
No dumps
GoFundMe
taken.
has been launched to help pay Trump's legal fees. The wife of an investor has launched a GoFundMe to help fund former President Trump's mounting legal expenses in the wake of Friday's verdict in the New York fraud case.
Question maybe for Will Scharf. Can he sell one of his buildings to Elon Musk and then win the appeal, and buy it back?
That's very. I don't know why you couldn't.
Oh, that would.
I don't see why you couldn't do that.
You want to talk about heads exploding?
I mean, who Elon Musk can afford that?
It seems like you'd almost have to sell like one of the major properties, golf courses, one of the big developments, Mar-a-Lago, to get that much money. But yeah, I mean, I see the principle of what you're saying.
But I'm just saying, like, for the amount of money that he's going to have to put up, it's going to be significant. He says he has that much cash. But why, like, sell it to a conservative friendly investor, figure out what's in it for them. I don't know. Maybe that's illegal, which is why I'm going to ask Will Scharf about it. And maybe Will can't tell us because Will Scharf is Trump's attorney. But I'm just floating the idea.
Well, I can guarantee you one thing. It's probably not illegal now, but if Donald Trump does it, it will be illegal.
They'll bootstrap a law to another law. Then
Scooter, who is absolutely an internet lawyer, says the court-appointed monitor would have to approve the sale. But if the sale is for the value, and they're real good at undervaluing things, so maybe Elon Musk would get a hot deal in this, just for a cool, precise amount.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to let the marketplace determine how much the value of a property is. We want to let the court determine that because they're very good at that.
If you're on the left.
If you're on the left, yeah. If you're on the right, I'd say, free market capitalism probably wins the day.
Regarding the GoFundMe thing, though, which is what the question is about, I have thought about this. Like, America should pitch in, but then at the same time, I'm thinking I want to pitch in with my vote, and I do feel like in some ways, shapes, or form, I want to vote for Donald Trump, but I also feel like I'm doing some charity in doing so, and that's such a huge amount of money. I don't think you can raise it.
It is $355 million.
Plus interest.
As of Saturday, they'd raised $185,000. I just checked.
Getting close.
Yeah. I saw that's Saturday. Today's Wednesday. I checked right before coming in here. Still not quite $1 million, but it's still up to $870,000. But it's not even making a dent.
No.
However, people are donating to it. It does seem like a let's pull together and make this happen kind of thing. So I thought, is that a net positive or negative?
I mean, maybe it's a positive show, but I don't think it's the right thing. If I were Donald Trump and I saw people doing this, I would pick some sort of charitable cause and say, listen, I can't beat this drum enough and loud enough, but conservatives need to be seen more than they've ever been heard in the next 8 months. You need to be out helping people in a way that doesn't involve government intervention. If you know people are hungry, figure out a way to feed them. If you see people who are unclothed, figure out a way to clothe them. If you see people who need help, figure out a way to help them. Because we can do all of this stuff without waiting for the right guy or girl or whatever to get elected to a position, because nothing happens until they do something. Go show up and help somebody right now. And if I were Trump, I would be saying, find a cause. Pick a cause. Pick a lane. Veterans, children, whatever it might be. Pick a lane. One that is down the center where everybody can agree, okay, we need to help children. We need to help fund adoptions. We need to help veterans who are on the street get the care that they need. Let's take all of this money that you want to give to me. Let me fight these battles. They're coming after me, and I'm going to fight them every step of the way. What I need you to do is go be seen. That would be of great political capital. And then just get, like, matching shirts.
That sounds like a winner to me. We'll go with that.
Do you guys think it's a good idea, GoFundMe?
To raise money for Trump? No, I don't like that. I mean, I think there's a statement to be made there, but I like kind of where you're going with that. It gives Trump the opportunity then to turn it into a positive for him by saying, hey, no, I don't need that. Give it where it's needed.
Leah?
I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
That was my first thought.
Okay.
I say yes. I think that it's still good. It's a hard sell to say, yeah, you're basically donating to this and it's going to end up in the coffers of New York, because that's ultimately what's happening.
Yeah.
But
you want to talk about fraud?
Jeez, are you kidding me? Because of today's YouTube live chat poll, I wanted to bring this one up. Okay. Gen Z is rejecting dating apps to meet romantic partners organically.
Oh, I think this is where the poll came from.
Did it? Okay. So lots of contact, but not lots of intimacy is what they're saying. Their whole life is mediated, said one psychologist. They have lots and lots and lots of contact, but not lots of intimacy. Then they go into several Gen Zers who are dating. They just say their last names. It says Rodriguez hopes to meet people through day-to-day activities such as schools and clubs. It's important to her to start as friends before considering a romantic relationship.
So the question is?
The question is this a net positive or a net negative that we've even had to get here? Because this seems like a positive movement.
What do you mean this?
But that we've had to get to the point where people are having to choose to not do online dating very deliberately.
Yeah, it's interesting to compare it to when online dating first became a thing. It was super nerdy and it was posed as if you met your significant other online, it was like the last resort.
And it was something you didn't say a whole lot.
Correct. And I know people in my life and in my family who met online, and they met online before it was at probably the standard. And they have the best relationships, and they're the best people. And I see why they went online, because they were sick and tired of doing maybe the bar scene, or the college thing was not really materializing in anything where you were finding someone who wanted the same thing that you wanted. So I don't have an opinion either here nor there on digital dating or in-person dating, but the lack of intimacy, even in friendships, is a huge, huge thing, I believe, for this upcoming generation. I want to talk about that more in the 2 o'clock hour.
Okay.
Do you have any strong opinions on that, Brad?
I think it's a good thing that the newer generation is moving back to the old way of dating. I think that, like you said, there's a way of developing that intimacy. The other side of it is like catfishing became a real problem. And it's
people listening don't all know what that means. So we'll revisit that in a second as well. Leah, any thoughts real quick before we break?
We can wait till the 2 o'clock hour.
2 o'clock hour?
Yeah.
Okay, hard to squeeze all that in.
I'm going to say this is a net positive, and I'll leave it there.
Okay, let's revisit it. 2:05. A reminder, James Taylor tickets giveaway both in the 1 o'clock hour and in the 2 o'clock hour, a two for today. And Will Scharf in studio when we come back.
Hey, it's Mark Bearden for the Doctors of Ophthalmology Associates. I depend on them for eye care, and they have an announcement. They're pleased to welcome Dr. Samuel Berry to their practice. Dr. Berry is a cornea surgeon, and he has the latest knowledge and techniques for advanced eye care and treatment in the field. So what do we call them now? The doctors? No, just the best doctors to see for your best vision. In St. Louis, you can reach them at 314-966-5000. They've treated more than 250 doctors, more than any others in the practice. Now, if you need help with dry eye, LASIK surgery, maybe you have glaucoma, macular degeneration. I had an eye disease when I was just 25 years old, so my eyes are very important to me. You get the absolute best care with the Doctors of Ophthalmology Associates. Doctors Greg Birdie, Ranjan Malhotra, Robert Bersati, Andy Royer, and now Dr. Samuel Berry. 314-966-5000 or visit youridoc.com. They have a great location just off Manchester Road, a half mile west of 270. Ophthalmology Associates.
Brian, you got to stop talking. I talk about the Diamond Shop. That's important.
I'm fun.
Well, yeah. You're a customer of the Diamond Shop. You've been a customer.
been, yeah.
And very happy. From what I was told, the Diamond Shop, my husband and myself both have been customers there as well. If you're interested in finding the piece of jewelry for that special someone, or if you're looking for maybe a watch for yourself, something to mark a special occasion, please consider the Diamond Shop and give them the opportunity to earn your business. You can go online right now and learn a little bit about them. And if you go buy jewelry, it's an investment. It's can be a high dollar investment if you choose to, if that's what your budget dictates. You can go to thediamondshop.net. Sign up to be a VIP because you're going to get access to special savings and events that are going to help you make a purchase maybe a little more comfortable in your budget. Right now through February, we still got about a week left here. You can save 30% off mounted jewelry plus 10% off amethyst, being the birthstone of February. Shop at the Diamond Shop, located in Clayton, been in St. Louis since 1910, online at thediamondshop.net.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio. 97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Big numbers at the southern border. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. Customs and Border Protection says in the San Diego sector alone, there have been more than 140,000 crossings since October 1st. More than 20,000 of them Chinese nationals.
They are literally flying in to different countries, then flying into Mexico, and then simply strolling across the border. They just walk in, they wait for Border Patrol to pick them up, and many of them have been telling us they are planning to go to sanctuary cities all around the country.
Fox's Bill Malugin in Jacumba, California, where a section of border wall ends, says he's hearing a lot from migrants about Chicago, Denver, and Boston. Illinois' governor is pledging nearly $200 million more to help Chicago deal with its migrant crisis. But New York City is slashing spending on migrant services and avoiding other budget cuts.
The city cut 10% of budget to city services like trash, senior services, libraries, etc. They were expecting to do another 5% cut this spring. Adams' administration announcing today that's no longer necessary because of better than expected budget. Part of that better than expected budget, thanks to things like cuts of 30% within migrant spending.
Fox Business's Madison Allworth. President Biden's younger brother James says the president has never had any involvement in his business career or any financial interest in those activities. He's meeting in private with a House committee as part of an impeachment inquiry.
We know that it's going to be a long day for Jim Biden because he's going to be behind closed doors for several more hours, perhaps past 6 p.m. this evening. And he told Republican and Democrat members that are up there in this meeting that Joe Biden, his older brother, President of the United States, has nothing to do with any of his business deals over time. Now, James Biden is not under oath. This is not a deposition, but of course, lying to Congress is a crime.
Fox's David Spunt on Capitol Hill. Excerpts of James Biden's opening statement were released. America is listening to Fox News.
Can't sleep with this cold.
Honey.
Honey?
Honey, you need NyQuil Severe Honey.
NyQuil Severe Honey gives you powerful cold and flu symptom relief with a dreamy honey taste.
Feeling better, honey? Honey? I'll take that as a yes.
Try NyQuil Severe Honey for powerful cold and flu symptom relief. NyQuil Severe with honey flavor. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever. Honeylicious, best sleep with a cold. Medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Angie's List is now Angie, and we've heard a lot of theories about why.
I thought it was an eco move. Fewer words, less paper.
No, it was so you could say it faster.
No, it's to be more iconic.
Must be a tech thing. But those aren't quite right. It's because now you can compare upfront prices, book a service instantly, and even get your project handled from start to finish.
Sounds easy.
It is, and it makes us so much more than just a list. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Almost have to check the calendar. 68, 69 for the high this afternoon with a mix of clouds and sunshine, windy. 79 the record from 1935. Tonight, clouds dominate, rain, and a couple of spot thunderstorms after midnight. Only 52 for the low. Thursday, periods of rain, couple of thunderstorms possible. 62 for the high on Thursday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
St. Louis Ambush is hosting a first responders game this Sunday, February 25th at the Family Arena. Tickets include multiple games, and $5 of each ticket sold goes directly to Backstoppers. Learn more and get tickets at stlambush.com/backstoppers.
I'm embarrassed to say this. I've been using deodorant on my armpits for 30 years, and anytime I noticed odor anywhere else, I thought I needed another shower, I wasn't clean, or I felt like there was something wrong with me. And then my gynecologist told me about Lumi. It's a whole body deodorant for pits, feet, and privates that controls odor anywhere and everywhere on your body. Since Lumi, I never have to worry about body odor ever again, anywhere on my body. And that reassurance is worth every penny.
There's a special offer for listeners. Use code 300 and get an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack that comes with a solid stick, cream tube, free product of your choice, and ships free with code 300. LUME deodorant.com, code 300 for an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack. With over 200,000 5-star reviews, I am so sure you're going to love it. Or return it for free. That's LUME deodorant.com, code 300 for an extra $5 off a Lumi starter pack. LUME deodorant.com, code 300.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Jackson Hewitt has a plan to get your tax refund fast with a buck here, buck there, here a buck, there a buck, everywhere a buck.
You don't have to wait weeks for your tax refund. Get money sooner with a no-fee refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt.
On this loan, there's a money today guarantee. E-I-E-I-DO.
Don't settle for chicken feed. Get fast bucks at Jackson Hewitt today. No-fee refund advance loans by Republic Bank offered to eligible clients. Money today guarantee if approved for a loan on a prepaid card. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com or call us toll-free at 888-367-6512.
If you're experiencing electrical issues, maybe you've got loose wiring or outlets that don't work or a ceiling fan that needs to be replaced, or maybe something bigger. Maybe you got an EV and you want to get a charging station in your garage. You need Reinhold Electric. When it comes to residential service, repairs, maintenance, inspections, rewiring, fault detection, electrical upgrades, they do it all at Reinhold Electric, and they'll come to wherever you are. Go to reinholdelectric.com or call them today, 314-631-1158. Tell them Bo sent you to Reinhold Electric.
The Annie Fry Show YouTube live chat poll of the day is sponsored by Ruler Foods. Low prices, no coupons. Ruler Foods.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
You ever just say to yourself, you know, I'm done. This is what they. Why? A lot of people would have said, I'm out. Why are you staying in this?
I can't because
I want to make America great again. It's not great right now, and we can do that. We can do that. Laura, we can do it. We can get it fixed. It's harder now. It would have been so much easier if we just finished off that. Everything would have been so perfect. We had the border set. Everything was set to rock and roll. We had no.
So you feel like you have an obligation to America because
As Laura Ingraham last night on the town hall on Fox News with Donald Trump, and she asked a very good question. I love that she asked this question to Donald Trump. Do you ever feel like just saying, I'm done? And his response is very quickly, I can't, because he still wants to make America great again. To me, it's obvious that the play from the left has been, I don't think Joe Biden is going to be able to beat Donald Trump policy versus policy. We need more. Enter lawfare. And enter the Annie Frey show studio, Will Scharf, who is a candidate for Missouri Attorney General and a former federal prosecutor for the Eastern District of Missouri. Always good to have you, Will. Thanks for being here.
Great to be with you. Thanks so much.
Lawfare? Is lawfare? I never had heard that term until this instance.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what's going on. I mean, when you look at what they're doing to President Trump, and none of this would be happening if he weren't running for president. I firmly believe that. But they're criminally prosecuting him all over the country. They're trying to take his business away in New York. They're throwing just these absurd allegations at him day after day after day. And it all adds up to exactly that, to a campaign of lawfare being waged because they know, mano a mano, Trump's going to wreck Biden every time just because of how bad a president Joe Biden's been.
Do you feel... So you also serve as Trump's attorney, and that's one of the reasons we love having you in here, because you have a very front row seat to what is being done to Donald Trump, and you're part of defending him against a lot of these attacks. I want to give you the opportunity to talk about the ruling in the New York City fraud case and that $355 million or something like that. It's funny money in my terms. I'm a thousandaire over here. I don't know how to speak in those terms. He was talking last night. Was it the Eighth? Is it the Eighth Amendment? Like cruel and unusual punishment? Does that apply?
It's we're going to have a lot of grounds for appeal in that case, and we're investigating those now. We're preparing to move ahead with that process. It's just really important to note that Tish James, this radical leftist attorney general of New York, campaigned aggressively on the premise that she was going to go after Donald Trump's businesses. She was going to take his money away. She said that publicly. She said it over and over and over again. And then she went out and did it. That's not the way prosecutions, that's not the way the legal system is supposed to be used in this country. And it speaks to what President Trump has said all along, that this is really about election interference. So we're going to appeal that judgment. I think we have very strong grounds for appeal. The judge in that case, Arthur Engoron, however you want to pronounce it, he made so many just awful rulings, whether it was on evidentiary issues, excluding evidence, letting evidence in. His legal judgment is just so replete with errors that we're going to have ample grounds for appeal. But in the meantime, President Trump has essentially $400 million just hanging over his head. It's totally unfair. It's not the way the legal system is supposed to be used in this country. And it just speaks to the stakes of this presidential election. Are we going to allow these lawless leftists to continue running the country into the ground? And I think the answer has to be no. And if we don't fight now, I don't think we're going to get another opportunity.
Will, I listen to you and other people who are defending Donald Trump or other legal experts that I know are actually politically not super big fans of Donald Trump as a politician or whatever it might be. Everybody is saying that this is outrageous. The ruling, how heavy the fine was, along with other cases that he's being tried for that should he not be Donald Trump would never have actually hit him the way they are hitting him. But that's the case. That's always the way it is. It's just like if you want to accept reality in this country right now, the justice system is different if you're Donald Trump.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And look, I've been a fan of President Trump's for a long time, obviously worked closely with his administration when he was in office. In the last few weeks, we've seen this sea change where establishment legal minds, we're talking professors at Harvard and other top schools, legal commentators have all just been saying that this insane rush by Jack Smith to throw President Trump on trial at the height of election season, it's just lawless and it has to stop. It's election interference. It violates Department of Justice policy. We had Jack Goldsmith, who's a professor at Harvard Law School, used to head the Office of Legal Counsel during the Bush administration, who's not a fan of President Trump's by any stretch, just saying that these prosecutions have just gotten totally out of control. And we're hopeful that that really indicates that America, not just, pro-Trump America, but America as a whole, people are waking up to what's going on, and people are standing up to this weaponization of our system of law enforcement, the weaponization of our courts for political purposes. It's banana republic type stuff, and it's got to stop.
I hear Democrats regularly say that if you don't vote for Democrats, we will lose democracy as we know it, which I repeat is the most ridiculous thing to say. The only way to preserve democracy is to only vote for one party. I'm like, I don't think that word means what you think that it means. However, I'm wondering if a two-tier justice system is the way that it's going to be for good if Donald Trump doesn't win the election.
Yeah, you go back to the founding era, and this is exactly the sort of thing our founding fathers were worried about. James Madison talked about the risk of invented treasons being used to prosecute political opponents. You go back even further to late Republican Rome, and you saw exactly this sort of dynamic, the weaponization of legal processes.
Ooh, late Rome.
Sorry, I'm a history nerd. But
that doesn't end great.
It's really, really bad, and it's really just toxic to a democratic republic like ours to have the courts be used in this sort of way. Again, I firmly believe that if Donald Trump were not running for president, none of this would be happening. And Joe Biden himself said back in 2022 that he was going to use our system of justice to prevent Donald Trump from becoming president again. And that's exactly what we're seeing day after day after day unfold in courts all across America.
We're speaking with Will Scharf. He joins us in studio. He's going to hear for another 30 minutes, so you want to stick around and get your questions in. Ryan is monitoring the questions as they come in. Will Scharf, I was going to say he's the candidate, but I should probably shift back from Ryan to Will Scharf as a candidate.
I am, in fact, not running for anything.
For Missouri Attorney General. That only works if you cross it the other way to run in Illinois.
We could use more people like Ryan in Missouri state government, I'll tell you that.
Ooh.
Some of these guys, they put ours next to their name, but they don't vote like conservatives, and it's a real problem that we've had for a very long time.
Ryan?
I've changed my mind. I guess I'm running. I'm announcing it right now.
What are you running for? Just Missouri?
Yep. Missouri for you.
That's right.
Chief Justice.
That might
Yes.
And freedom.
Missouri for you and freedom.
I love it.
Yeah.
Candidate filing next Tuesday. Get in there,
there
man.
you go.
Obviously, I'm going to. So.
Ryan, you want to ask some questions? We have some
Sure.
listeners
Let me
typing
pull a
in on the
couple
Any
of
Friday
these up
YouTube
here.
channel.
I saw a couple really good ones that I starred here. Let me grab one from Vicky. Let's start with that. She says, for Will, when were the fraud charges filed? Before or after Trump announced that he was running again?
So the fraud, Tish James's fraud case, I mean, it goes back several years. They definitely initiated that investigation before Trump was running. I think actually when he was still president. So this goes back a ways, but I think across the board in all of these cases, we saw a serious ratcheting up of the pressure, a serious ratcheting up of the aggressiveness that they were being pursued with as soon as Trump declared. And I think, Arthur Engeron, this judge in New York, he was mugging for the cameras and was just keenly aware of the media attention that Trump being a candidate for president brought to his case. And I believe that affected his judgment, that affected the way he treated this case, that affected the way he treated the president here.
Will, do you think if Donald Trump, let's say he loses in 2020, he hangs it up, and he tries to just, spend his time in Mar-a-Lago doing his thing, totally swears off politics for the rest of time. Are they doing this to whomever that Republican nominee is, or is there something extra that they hate about Donald Trump?
Yeah, first of all, I think the left, the radical left today will pursue Donald Trump to the end of the earth, that they are not going to leave this guy alone. And that's why it's so important that we reelect him president. But I think you're raising a really important point, which is that they've crossed the threshold. I mean, they've decided to make lawfare a tool in their political arsenal. And I think whoever is running for office, high office as a Republican in the future, is going to face exactly these sorts of challenges unless we beat them now, unless we show that these tactics don't work, unless we beat them in court, unless we beat them at the ballot box. The left is going to feel empowered to do this over and over and over again. And, I saw this. I think you guys know I worked on Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation to the Supreme Court. and we saw the left violate every norm, run roughshod over the normal process, smear Brett Kavanaugh worse than probably any man has been smeared in American history, because to them, at the end of the day, the only objective is advancing more leftism, and they're willing to do literally anything if it allows them to do that. And that to me is so what's so scary about the modern left. You know, we're not talking about Dick Gephardt and Ike Skelton anymore. This is a new radical breed of leftists who don't feel constrained by the U.S. Constitution, who don't feel constrained by the rule of law. And that's why the stakes have just gotten so much higher in recent years.
We've got people making posting questions here on the Annie Fry YouTube channel. We invite you to come do the same. Just go to Annie Fry on YouTube and leave a comment in our live broadcast right now. Ryan, let's get into another listener question.
This one is from Edward. To be fair, I do believe he leans left. Can you ask Will, if Trump is innocent, why isn't he seeking a speedy trial for himself so he can get his acquittal before the election?
Well, look, some of these cases, the Florida documents case and the D.C. case most notably, involve millions and millions and millions of pages of discovery. I mean, speaking as a former federal prosecutor, speaking as an attorney, I would never counsel a client just to rush to trial without even knowing what's going to be presented against you. I mean, this is core rule of law type stuff. I mean, a defendant has every right to have effective counsel. A defendant has every right to see the evidence that's going to be presented against him. And Jack Smith, by rushing these cases, is trying to deprive President Trump of the due process rights that any other criminal defendant in America would have. To me, that's what's so dangerous about this. We're not seeking anything out of the ordinary. I mean, when I was prosecuting violent crime here in St. Louis, you'd see even relatively simple carjacking, bank robbery cases, stuff like that, things that are not nearly as complex as President Trump's cases. Those cases might take years to bring to trial, depending on the underlying facts, depending on the investigation, and really depending on how long the defendant's lawyers needed to review all the evidence against their clients. That's all we're asking for here. It's nothing out of the ordinary. But Jack Smith's team at every opportunity has sought to rush things, because instead of working on a legal timeline, they're working on a political timeline. And that's what's so offensive about the way he's doing these cases.
I think the underlining question that Edward is asking, and then Andy is making the comment here as well, Trump delaying is not the same as Smith rushing, is that there is some politics that is involved in the timing of the entire trial as a whole on both sides of the issue. But, I mean, the implication here from Edward is that if Trump is innocent, he should want to get to his innocence as fast as he possibly can. But what I hear you saying is, naturally, however, that would be legally really dumb.
Look, I think President Trump, I mean, he knows that he's innocent. I don't think he did anything wrong, and I think ultimately the courts are going to vindicate that. But saying that the guy should essentially deprive himself of his own legal rights because of the underlying politics, I mean, that speaks to the absurdity of this situation, that this man is the principal political opponent of the present administration. That administration has chosen to prosecute him in violation of Department of Justice policies at the height of election season. The idea that he should be depriving himself of his constitutional rights because of politics, I mean, that's just crazy, and it shows just how absurd this whole situation has gotten.
And I think, Will, also to look at the context of where these lawsuits are coming from. I mean, I don't know if this phrase applies to in legal terms, but it's not like they're really being brought in good faith. It's pretty obvious to anybody with 2 eyes and 2 ears that they need to more than sideline Donald Trump, certainly from the political realm, but you wonder how far they're willing to take it. That the idea that they'd be like, yeah, I'll go anytime, anywhere. You bring it and I can hit that ball out of the park. They're not really playing. The people bringing these trials against Donald Trump have a lot of ulterior motives.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, we've said from the start that there's real evidence that this whole effort is being coordinated out of the Biden White House counsel's office and out of the Biden Department of Justice. I mean, you look at the New York case with Tish James. I mean, Tish James's principal assistant, a guy, Matthew Colangelo, worked for her, initiated the Trump investigation when he was still in the New York AG's office, then became the number 3 at the Biden Department of Justice, then suddenly disappears and shows up in Alvin Bragg's office, the New York DA who's prosecuting Trump there, and Colangelo's leading that prosecution. I mean, we've seen across the board this insane coordination across the country, and it all ultimately leads back to Joe Biden and his close circle of senior advisors. And that's just wrong. I mean, you can't have a sitting president prosecute his principal political opponent, get others to prosecute his principal political opponent just because he's facing a tough reelection. That's not the way our legal system has ever been used before. It's certainly not the way our legal system should be used.
We're speaking with Will Scharf. He is a former federal prosecutor for the Eastern District of Missouri. He is Trump's attorney, and he's also a candidate for Missouri Attorney General. One quick question from a listener, Ryan, and we're going to take a break, and we're going to get more of your questions on the Annie Fry YouTube channel over that break. So, Ryan, why don't you go ahead?
Yep, I always like when a listener asks a question that I wanted to know the answer to, too, because then I can say, well, if it's a bad question, it wasn't mine. This is Ron's. So this is coming from Ron. When Trump is elected in November.
Please, God.
Will the lawfare continue, or can Trump as president make the DOJ basically quit being so partisan?
Yeah, look, I think President Trump would appoint someone as Attorney General of the United States who would, share our feeling about the importance of the rule of law, would understand that the Department of Justice needs to be depoliticized, and certainly at that point they could dismiss the federal prosecutions against him. When you look at the two state prosecutions, there wouldn't be that similar power. The Georgia case, I mean, as you guys know, has gone totally off the rails with Fani Willis probably under criminal investigation herself at this point. The New York case with Alvin Bragg, that's technically scheduled to go to trial later, I guess, next month. But yeah, I mean, certainly if President Trump were reelected, I think a lot of these efforts would fall away. And I think we would also learn a lot more about their origins, how these cases got started, the involvement of Joe Biden and his senior advisors in instigating these prosecutions. And I think for the good of America, that would just be really important.
Well, we're speaking with Will Scharf here in studio, and we want more of your questions. Ryan's watching as they come in. So go to the Annie Fry YouTube channel, and on the live broadcast right now, you can leave your comments in the chat, and we'll do more questions here with Will Scharf when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
I want to talk to you about Stewart's American Mortgage and the Bagel Loan. The Bagel Loan is there to make sure that your mortgage is setting you up for the best situation for those 30 years you're signing up for the mortgage, 15, 20, 10, whatever it is. When you use the Bagel Loan, no closing costs. You pay no closing costs. Stewie named it the Bagel Loan because bagels look like zeros, and that's to remind you that you're going to pay zero in closing costs when you use the Bagel Loan at Stewart's American Mortgage. And just a heads up, the Bagel Loan is only available at Stewart's American Mortgage. I have used the Bagel Loan to refinance on my home twice. And both times that I did it, I was able to lower my interest rate on my mortgage and not pay any closing costs. He explains it in detail if you want to know exactly how it works. I don't have time to do that here, but it is true. Those closing costs don't get tucked away, or you don't have to pay them over the course of the loan. They just don't exist. And it saves you real, actual money. If you're interested in buying a home right now, or if you're considering doing a mortgage refinance because maybe you want to lower that interest rate, or maybe you need to do a cash out refinance, maybe shorten the term of your loan, reach out to Stewie. 314-324-4440. 314-324-4440. You can Google the Bagel Loan as well to find out more info. NMLS number 226715.
Did you all hear what's going on with these energy mandates? You know, I've been told they don't make a lot of sense, and I'm in the business. I agree 100%. Actually, they make 0 sense. So here's the easiest thing, and the only thing I have on a recommendation. You're going to need a new furnace or a new air conditioner. Just call me for a just common sense approach to your heating and cooling needs for your house. If your system is old, or you just want to replace a system, now just call me. It's Bart Inman. One easy number in Missouri and Illinois. The easiest and the only one, Missouri and Illinois, is 314-293-2600. Again, it's Bart Inman, 314-293-2600, or on the internet, it's bartinman.com. That is Bart with a B, Inman.com. with an I.com.
What better way to support your nutrition than with the multivitamin that was created right here in St. Louis? Neovitin Original Multivitamin was created by St. Louis physician Dr. Ribicki to support his own nutrition when he needed it most. Now, Neovitin Original Multivitamin is formulated with sensible doses of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and Dr. Ribicki's proprietary blend to give you nutritional support you won't find anywhere else. Neovitin is now conveniently available through our no-obligation monthly subscription. Cancel or pause at any time, and shipping is free. Support your nutrition with a subscription to Neovitin at neovitin.com today.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-652-5241 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-652-5241. That's 800-652-5241. What do you have to lose? Call 800-652-5241. Again, 800-652-5241.
You've listened to 97.1 FM Talk. You've heard of Doug Voss of Voss Financial and Safe Money Radio, as he has been a staple as the financial expert on the station for many years. You can hear him on Safe Money Radio several times a weekend right here on 97.1 FM Talk. And you can talk to Doug Voss directly. Here's his number. Call Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That is 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through D.H. Hill Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. 9 out of 10 homes are under-insulated. Is yours? Did you know that there's an R value associated with insulation? To find out your R value or for a free insulation estimate, visit aircomfortservice.com.
The Mark Reardon Show.
The Missouri Freedom Caucus is claiming that Senate Republicans joined Democrats in allowing non-citizens to vote in Missouri elections. But is that really true? We'll get to the bottom of it Wednesday afternoon.
Weekdays from 3 to 6.
St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Fry Show.
What do you think Hunter Biden did or promised or winked about to get that money that he got? He's obviously not a financial
Well,
whiz.
from many locations. I mean, from Ukraine, it was crazy because he was on the board. He was paid $183,000 a month. He got $3 million up front, according to what I read.
But they say Joe Biden, there's no evidence that Joe Biden received any financial benefit personally. And to that, you say?
Well, he's got a lot of houses all over the place, and he's never been paid more than about $179,000, I guess, is the top. Look, he's gotten a lot of money. Hunter's gotten a lot of money. Hunter gets millions of dollars just for sitting on a board, an energy board, and he admits that he knows nothing about energy.
So we spend a lot of time talking about Donald Trump's legal troubles. There are quite a few of them, of course. And in the meantime, James Biden is testifying today, the brother of Joe Biden, who is a little bit part of this web, or maybe a lot of it, I guess we'll find out, of the Biden brand, whatever that Biden brand is. So while Donald Trump is taking the hits and the blows from lawfare that is just completely set out to marginalize him on a political realm, if not more, it is important to understand, too, that Joe Biden has his own legal concerns. We've got everything that is Hunter Biden and the Biden brand, but we also have the classified documents case, which there's a parallel there of some kind to what Donald Trump is facing. Will Scharf is in studio with us right now. He is an attorney for Donald Trump. He's a candidate for Missouri Attorney General and a former federal prosecutor for the Eastern District of Missouri. Will, when you're comparing notes between what the Bidens, specifically Joe Biden, is dealing with and what you have that front row seat to what Donald Trump is dealing with, how do you feel that the Justice Departments are putting the pressure on? Yeah, comparatively.
I think the Biden family's foreign corruption scandal, really all of their corruption, is the greatest political scandal in American history. I mean, as President Trump said with Laura Ingraham last night, Hunter was getting millions and millions of dollars from Ukraine, millions and millions of dollars from China, in these sort of just blatant foreign influence peddling deals, all predicated on the family brand, meaning Joe Biden. His brother Jim was involved in just outright healthcare fraud that led, by the way, to closures of rural hospitals in Pennsylvania. I mean, this was a huge, huge scandal. And there are emails that show Jim Biden basically saying that Joe was going to be cut in, floating the possibility of Joe Biden taking an equity stake in this company he was working with. I mean, just time and time again, you see these trails, a paper trail, money trail, all leading back to Joe Biden. So the idea that Joe Biden wasn't involved in these corrupt business deals, the idea that he had no idea what his family was up to, it just doesn't pass the smell test. And in a fair world, their activities would certainly be more heavily scrutinized than President Trump's. I don't think President Trump has done anything wrong here. I think with the Biden family, it's just the seediness of these foreign corrupt deals is so bad. I mean, this is, again, exactly what our founders were worried about. Foreign powers buying off American politicians. And really, I think that's the story of Joe Biden's life.
Chris says on the Annie Frey YouTube channel right now, let's open up to every single politician to be investigated like Trump is. I'd love to see how the Clintons, Obamas, Bidens, Pelosi's all got rich off of set income. You know, I've said this before. You know, I don't know that Donald Trump has led a perfectly squeaky clean life, but it sure seems like the amount of investigations that they've done into Donald Trump and his family, that when it plays out, it shows that all of the things that have been manifested in the media and by his political opponents so far have not really materialized to be what they said they needed to be. But in the middle of all of this happening, the timeline, the passage of time, the political capital exists in the capital C chaos that they have created to try to marginalize Donald Trump. It makes me wonder if you investigated with the same fervor the Clintons and the Obamas and the Bidens and Pelosi's and so on, throw Republicans in there too, if they could do the same thing to them that they're doing to the Trumps.
You know, it's worth noting President Trump came into office a billionaire. He made his money building businesses, obviously his wildly successful TV show, The Apprentice, selling books. I mean, he made his money long before he was involved in politics. With these other families, particularly the Bidens, I think it's true of Nancy Pelosi as well, the Clintons, the Obamas, they made their money off of politics. And that's just a fundamental difference in the way that we should be thinking about these scandals. I mean, the Bidens, they were out selling the fact that Joe Biden was the sitting vice president. He might be president in the future. That's why you have to pay us millions and millions of dollars. Nancy Pelosi, I think a lot of these congressmen, they regularly trade on what for private citizens would be insider information. They know a new federal law is about to pass or a new federal investigation is about to start, and they buy and sell stocks based on that information. It's something that no private citizen would be allowed to do. I think it's a great scandal. American political corruption in general, I mean, we're just scratching the surface of it. We've got to clean it up. I mean, we've got to stop these people from profiting off their offices because it just fundamentally corrupts our system, our entire political system.
We need a reset that really does restore in you know, the mindset of our founding fathers, the idea that the people are that's the entity that reigns supreme. It seems if you get plugged into federal government, potentially state government as well, you become of a more elite class than the plebes who are the ones who sent you there. You assume that they're the ones who sent you there. And then they get to stay there forever and continue to benefit off of the system that they have been plugged into. And I don't really know what the solution is. I know people talk about term limits, but then I see people in Missouri talking about how term limits have been detrimental to the way state government is run in the state of Missouri. I see points on both sides, but how do you get a political system, a government system, a legal system that once again is restored to the people? Because right now that's not who's being served.
Yeah, and I also put a lot of blame at the feet of the mainstream media, who are more than willing to cover even the scent of corruption when it's on the right. But the second you're talking about a Democrat, the second you're talking about anyone whose politics are left, they just seem to turn a blind eye to it over and over and over again. I promise you, no Republican House Speaker would get away with financially what Nancy Pelosi has gotten away with over the years. I think the same is true of the Clintons. I think the same is true of the Obamas. As you said before, it's this two-tiered system of justice that's emerged where Republicans are held to a totally different standard than the Democrats. And to me, that's just deeply corrosive of our whole democratic system. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, you spend 5 minutes in Washington, D.C., you start understanding the entitlement of these congressmen and senators. It's a real problem. I think it starts with electing good people to these offices, and then it finishes with just holding them accountable each and every day that they're in office. I mean, I don't think that congressmen should view their seat in Congress as a step towards getting rich. I don't think they should be cashing out on the back end and going and becoming lobbyists and lobbying their former colleagues. It's all just deeply seedy, unseemly, and just not right.
I'm going to ask a couple questions here from Andy, who is on our YouTube live chat. And we encourage everyone to come join us there and pose your questions as we speak with Will Scharf in studio here. I don't know how familiar you are with, everything that's going on with Joe Biden, because a lot of that exists in the political realm, but I would assume with a legal mind, you have an interesting perspective on this. A couple things that Andy says here. What specifically did Joe Biden do while not a private citizen that is corrupt? And then he follows up with, what evidence is there that Joe Biden specifically received compensation for any of the Hunter or Jim Biden entities?
Well, so we have emails from Hunter Biden saying that he was regularly paying his dad, that he was covering his expenses, 10% to the big guy, all that. In terms of corrupt acts in office, I think the clearest example is right out of Joe Biden's mouth, where he said that he held up billions of dollars in American loan guarantees to the Ukrainian government until the Ukrainians agreed to fire Shokin.
And I quote, son of a bee.
Son of a bee. Shokin was the guy who was investigating his son's company. I mean, you want to talk about federal bribery, you want to talk about a quid pro quo, it's tough to get better than that. And in a fair world, that whole saga would have been thoroughly investigated by the Justice Department. But again, it just all seems to have been brushed under the rug. I mean, if you
Andy says that big guy is not evidence, and that was while Joe was not in office. I mean, he was the vice president when he was getting the guy fired.
He was sitting vice president when he got Shokin fired. The stuff about the big guy, it's all Hunter talking historically. I mean, Hunter says in emails to other family members that 50% of all the money he made was being kicked up to Joe. Now, Hunter's a crackhead, so I don't know if we want to take him at his word. But certainly it raises eyebrows, and it's worth investigating. I mean, if you're a prosecutor looking at the emails that are on Hunter Biden's laptop, you have to think that it's something worth taking a look at. But the Justice Department just seems to have turned a blind eye to it. It's the same with this recent scandal with Biden's brother and this healthcare fraud. I mean, you again have explicit communications where his brother is talking about cutting Joe in on these deals, tying it into the forthcoming presidential election, saying that Joe is going to effectively be running on the basis of the work that they're doing. I mean, can we show a quid pro quo based on what's in the record? I don't know, but there's certainly enough there to kick off an investigation and to look much more deeply into the Biden family's finances. As these House investigative committees have started subpoenaing records and started getting those bank records, we're getting more new questions than we are answering. I mean, there are weird things like the fact that the Bidens were all buying like offshore life insurance policies. I mean, this is the stuff that to a former federal prosecutor, to me, it reeks of foreign money laundering. And yet no one's really looking at it. And to me, that's the shameful part of this. If we're going to have an aggressive system of justice, it should apply equally across the board. But again, when it comes to Democrats, they seem to get pass after pass after pass until, like Bob Menendez, the senator from New Jersey, they're literally caught taking payoffs in gold bars from foreign intelligence actors. I mean, if that's what it takes to kick off an investigation, like it's crazy.
Yeah, that brought us based John Fetterman. This is a wild ride that we're on here.
I mean, you guys have heard me talk. What's happened to Fetterman in recent months is just incredible. I mean, this guy, like, we all thought that he was just, one, a total leftist, and two, non-compass menace. But he's been totally based on issues like public corruption, on issues like Israel. I mean, I love the new John Fetterman. I wish more Republicans were as outspoken and upfront and just as blunt as John Fetterman's been.
Yeah, he's funny. I enjoy it. Every time I see a clip of him, I'm watching it. Will Scharf, before we let you go, I want to give you the opportunity to set the tone for how you see the next 8 months or so, 8.5 months, which is leading into the election. Going back to Edward's comment before, who I don't think is a Trump supporter, there is political sense in delaying a lot of these, if not all, as many as they can, trials until after the election. What do you see happening in the Trump legal world as we approach November?
So, look, we're waiting on two key rulings out of the Supreme Court. One is the Colorado case on ballot access. We expect to win that one resoundingly. That's over whether President Trump's allowed to be on the ballot at all. It's this insane 14th Amendment argument leftist lawyers have made all over the country. We could hear from the Supreme Court on that tomorrow. I mean, that's hanging out there. We've appealed to the Supreme Court. We've moved the Supreme Court for a stay based on our presidential immunity arguments in the D.C. case. We could get that ruling any day now. This New York criminal case with Alvin Bragg is scheduled to go to trial next month. I mean, these legal issues aren't going away anytime soon, and I think it's unfortunate that instead of having a political election focused on the issues, focused on Joe Biden's record and Donald Trump's record in office, we're instead talking about these legal issues. But I think we're certainly hopeful that we're going to be able to fend off these legal attacks, that President Trump is going to have a fair opportunity to run for office. And I think that if we're successful in that, President Trump's going to win next November, just based on how bad a president Joe Biden has been and how much better things were under Donald Trump.
If Donald Trump wins in November, how many of his own problems can he solve? Which ones can't he?
Well, I think with fair leadership at the Department of Justice, the federal cases should be dismissed. I don't think they should have ever been brought. Some of the other issues, I mean, it's pretty well established that you can't indict a sitting president. You can't bring a new criminal action against a sitting president. I think if President Trump wins, that would really be the voice of the American people saying that they reject this campaign of lawfare against him. And I'd hope that that would impact the way some of these other cases are proceeding as well. This New York civil judgment and the judgments in the Carroll cases, I mean, those are real problems. They're trying to take away President Trump's businesses, take away his money. I give him a lot of credit for being willing to stand up in spite of those efforts, really to take away everything that he's built, that he's spent a life building, and that he's still willing to put himself through this political process. And I think, as he said the other night, to him, it really is all about bringing back American greatness and bringing back the successes that we saw under his administration and making sure that America is just a better country for the future.
Yeah, he said last night that his revenge will be his success, and that is about the sweetest revenge that he could have, I'm sure.
It was a beautiful line. I think it speaks to what's in his heart, and I think it's just really important to fight back against this leftist narrative that, Donald Trump is consumed with revenge or all that. I mean, I don't think that's true at all. I think this is a guy who really wants to make America better, who sees what's happened in the last couple of years and knows that it's just totally unsustainable.
Well, Scharf, people are already asking for you to come back and talk about the Georgia case, among other things. So you're welcome back as soon as Brad can work it out with you. Thanks for being here with us again today.
Thanks so much, guys.
Of course. Will Scharf is a candidate for Missouri Attorney General, but he is also Trump's attorney and a former federal prosecutor for the Eastern District of Missouri, incredibly well-versed on all of these legal issues facing the current president of the United States and also the former president of the United States, who could potentially be the next president of the United States. Like I said, what a wild ride. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Fry Show.
Your garage door is the largest piece of moving equipment in your home. When it needs help, call the experts at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Their certified technicians repair all brands of doors and openers, and you can even schedule evening and weekend service. Just call 314-781-5200 and always look for the red ribbon. It's your assurance you've got the genuine, the original Overhead Door, the most trusted garage door company in St. Louis since 1926. For same-day service, schedule online at overheaddoorsstlouis.com. 314-781-5200.
The IRS definitely ramped up operations since the pandemic slowed them down, and activity only increases from here. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. If you're currently under audit or you haven't paid your taxes in the past, now's the time to call the Lance Story Law Firm. The IRS has a published Taxpayer Bill of Rights, which says you have the right to retain legal representation. Because IRS problems are legal problems, and the Lance Story Law Firm focuses specifically on addressing IRS issues for our clients. It's all we do. We get out in front of the IRS, devise the best resolution plan, and work to make sure you're able to take advantage of every program you're qualified to receive. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure company, call the Lance Story Law Firm. We're local, located right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, DRURYlaw.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Rulerfoods.com. I'm looking at the website right now. You can sign up and be the first to receive their weekly offers directly to your inbox. So if you've become a Ruler Foods fan, since we've been talking about them here on the Annie Fry Show, and you want heads up to their great savings, they send me the stuff that they have that's on extra sale. For instance, the Heritage Farm chicken leg quarter sold in a 10-pound bag, 49 cents a pound. Kroger pork loin chops, 5-count, or home-style beef patties, 4-count, $5. Kroger russet potatoes, a 10-pound bag, $2.99, or General Mills big bag cereals, 32 to 35 ounces, $5.99. These are some of the things that they have on sale right now, extra savings at Ruler Foods. But if you want to get a heads up to what is coming so that you can plan out your grocery shopping list, go to rulerfoods.com right now and sign up for their weekly offers that are emailed directly to your inbox. You can also always check out whatever the current ad is by visiting rulerfoods.com. Did you know that they have Kroger brands at Ruler Foods prices? So your name brands that you shop regularly, you're going to find those at Ruler Foods, but you're going to find great quality Kroger brands at those Ruler Food prices every time you shop at your local Ruler Foods. Find the Ruler Foods closest to you, sign up for the newsletter, and check out their current ad, all at rulerfoods.com.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
The needs of modern businesses are always changing, but corporate cards haven't evolved in decades. Until now. Meet Ramp, the all-in-one finance platform that combines corporate cards with spend management software. Ramp is the only card designed to actually help your business spend less, not more. With Ramp, you can set custom controls to stop out-of-policy spend before it even happens. And Ramp software even does expense reports for you. No more manual entries, no more chasing receipts. And with best-in-class accounting integrations, you'll close your books in days, not weeks. Ramp gives you better insights and a real-time view of all company spend, so you can stay focused on the big picture and build a healthier business. Join over 15,000 businesses who have switched to Ramp and start saving an average of 5%. Modern finance runs on Ramp. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/free. That's ramp.com/free.
Tony La Russa here. Men, are you running out of stamina rounding third base? If so, call my friends at Victory Men's Health in O'Fallon, Illinois. Scoring at home is important, just as important as crossing the plate with the winning run. VictoryMen'sHealth.com.
All right, I am excited to tell you that now is the time you can win tickets to see James Taylor on, let's see, the date is June 6th that they just announced this concert's going to be at the Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. So now is the time to call if you want to win. 314-241-9797. Be the 13th caller, and you will win a pair of tickets to see James Taylor on June 6th. It's nice to think about warm weather, even though today is actually pretty warm. So be the 13th caller, 314-241-9797. Good luck. Oh, and the time check, 1:52. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning. Boom.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
The Annie Fry Show wants you to see James Taylor for free. Listen from noon to 3 every day this week for them to tell you when to call. If you win, you'll get a pair of tickets to see James Taylor at the Hollywood Casino Amphitheater June 6th.
Down upon me, Jesus. You gotta help me make
So listen to The Annie Fry Show all this week. There's a chance every day to win, noon to 3, on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis's home for conservative talk. The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Did you see the Madonna video?
I've seen a Madonna video.
Like in your life?
Mm-hmm. It was for Vogue.
And it was 1992.
Yeah. To answer your question.
Did you see the Madonna video?
I didn't see the video, but I heard about it.
She's at a concert. This just happened.
Okay.
And part of her set, her dance choreography is the word I'm trying to think of here, is she's sitting in a chair. And the chair is like a regular, unfancy kitchen table chair. Pretty much, just for your understanding, if you haven't seen the video, one she can straddle. Because everybody wants to see 65-year-old Madonna straddling a chair.
That's the way I do concerts. I just sit in a chair.
Straddling. Just waiting to see if you can turn anyone's head.
Yeah, I don't even straddle it.
Okay.
I just like, here,
This
go, this is
isn't,
my
this,
kitchen.
this isn't about you and your chair. She's sitting in the chair, and she's facing the back of the stage for this part of the choreography. And one of her dancers is supposed to take the chair and tilt it forward and drag her up like the catwalk.
Okay.
He drops her. She tumbles out of the chair.
Oh.
She's laying face first on the catwalk, still singing, lip syncing or whatever. And then she kind of gets up and goes and sits in the chair.
Thank God the chair was still there. After you fall, you want to sit down.
The person dragging her was a man who was wearing super high stiletto heels.
Okay.
He tripped and fell and dumped her out of the chair.
It seems more common that you'd fall if you're wearing stilettos.
The headline is Madonna falls out of chair. That's not the correct headline.
I'd probably read that story if I saw that headline, though.
The fact that there is an individual who is walking and, very sassily, which isn't a word, but hey, you know what I mean, up this catwalk, dragging Madonna sitting in this chair. And she's supposed to just be tilted backwards. She's not straddling. That'd be really funny. She's just face first. She ended up face first. And you watch in his stiletto. The stiletto have you ever experienced falling in a stiletto?
I have not.
Okay, I didn't want to assume.
Thank you.
Not here. I am here to judge.
Yeah, you would judge that if I said yes.
You're darn right. His stiletto goes to the side, and he crashes and burns on the stage, and with it goes Madonna.
Gotta tell you, I want to get to the point where I'm famous enough that I can just go out on stage, sit down in a kitchen chair, and then start lip syncing, and somebody comes out and their job is just to drag me around in a kitchen chair while I continue to pretend to sing.
Scooter says when Madonna falls out of a chair, it means 6 more weeks of fake spring. I don't know what that means, but I wanted to read a Scooter comment that made me chuckle.
A lot of double negatives in that.
Yeah, I know.
You have to really decipher.
I gotta map that. But I mean, there's so many things to talk about in this one clip that's making the rounds, and the headline that Madonna falls out of the chair is not really one of them.
I gotta tell you, though.
Madonna is wearing like a teddy, like a lingerie, and it's just like, I think this time is past.
If Madonna falls out of chair, I'm clicking on it.
I can't believe you've avoided it. Go watch it on the
I can't
break.
believe it either. Okay.
All right, we're talking about dating in the 1900s and the 2000s when we come back.
I was having a lot of sinus infections. My sinuses were clogged, pressure, headaches.
Linda suffered for years with chronic sinus infections.
You don't feel like doing anything. When you feel like your head is completely clogged, all you want to do is just lay down and sleep. And the pressure, it's just not fun, always walking around with a headache.
Now, her issues are gone. How? A minimally invasive procedure done in the office of St. Louis Sinus Centers called balloon sinuplasty.
I really did not know what it was like to feel like you're really barely breathing and not being so clogged up. I would do it again in a heartbeat, and I would definitely recommend it for someone else.
Do you suffer with chronic sinus infections, facial pain, pressure, congestion? Find out if balloon sinuplasty is the solution for you. Set an appointment today with St. Louis Sinus Centers. Call 314-332-2885. 314-332-2885. That's 314-332-2885.
When you buy your flooring, you want to buy it from, somebody who you trust, somebody who's going to treat you right. Michael's Flooring Outlet are those people. If you have shopped with Michael's Flooring Outlet before, you've already learned this, but they're a family business. They've got 3 locations that they've grown into across the St. Louis region. But your flooring situation doesn't really, I read Google reviews for people if I'm going to go spend some money there, and it's going to be a chunk of change, and I want to make sure that I'm spending my money in a place that I can respond positively to. And you read those Google reviews, and they kind of set you on a path. Check them out for Michael's Flooring Outlet. They're committed to getting the job done right. They have a solid quality product, but they don't set aside value in the pursuit of making sure you're a satisfied customer. It's key. It's a pillar of how they've done business and stayed in business for 30 years in St. Louis. If you're shopping for flooring, check out Michael's Flooring Outlet. You can visit them online at igotfloor.com.
Mark Cox here. Do you need to sell your home, but you need time to find your next home or to build that new construction home you've only been dreaming about? Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, St. Louis real estate expert, has a program for you. Gloria understands that those two issues keep would-be home sellers from moving into their dream home. So Gloria's developed her Sell and Stay program that allows you to sell, get your cash, and stay in the home for up to 12 months. Gloria's Sell and Stay program takes the pressure off. It gives you time to find your next home. Plus, now that you have the cash from your current home, it gives you leverage when negotiating your next home. It's a great solution to help get some of our listeners unstuck and moving. If that sounds like you, call the one I trust at 314-325-6888. That's 314-325-6888. Or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. That's GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio. 97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
He's defending the president. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. James Biden, President Biden's younger brother, telling 2 House committees behind closed doors his brother had no role or financial interest in any of his business dealings. Excerpts from his opening statement. Congressman Jamie Raskin is ranking Democrat on the House Oversight Committee.
Now we know that Russian intelligence operatives were behind creating the propaganda and disinformation at the very foundation of this investigation. So I think it's time for Chairman Comer and the Republicans to fold up the circus tent, and we should get back to work for the American people.
House Republicans say their impeachment probe of the president will continue. His son Hunter has a deposition set for next week. In between campaign fundraising events in California, President Biden speaks later this hour near L.A. about cybersecurity at sea and the nation's ports.
In the same way port operators must comply with federal safety regulations, the Department of Homeland Security is crafting rules for cybersecurity, warning a cyber attack can do as much, if not more, damage as a storm.
The continuity of their operations has a clear and direct impact on the success of our country, our economy, and our national security.
Deputy National Security Advisor Ann Neuberger says ports employ 31 million people and contribute $5 trillion to the economy.
Fox's Jared Halpern in Washington. An executive order would require port operators to notify federal officials when they've been hit with a cyber attack and authorize the Coast Guard to respond. This driven in part by risks from high-tech cranes made in China and located at strategic seaports. A tug of war between 2 prosecutors over a murder suspect. New York's Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg accusing the Maricopa County DA Rachel Mitchell in Arizona of playing political games after refusing to extradite a man back to New York while suggesting Bragg might release him. The suspect's accused of killing a woman in a New York hotel and stabbing 2 others in Arizona. America is listening to Fox News.
Oh, this cold.
Honey?
Honey?
Honey, you need DayQuil Severe Honey.
DayQuil Severe Honey gives you powerful cold and flu symptom relief with a honeylicious taste, because life doesn't stop for a cold.
Okay, I'm ready to go.
Now I'm getting a cold.
Honey.
Try DayQuil Severe Honey for powerful cold and flu relief. DayQuil Severe with honey flavor. The daytime coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever, Honeylicious, power through your day medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
The Angie's List you know and trust is now Angie, and we're so much more than just a list. We still connect you with top local pros and show you ratings and reviews, but now we also let you compare upfront prices on hundreds of projects and book a service instantly. We can even handle the rest of your project from start to finish. So remember, Angie's List is now Angie, and we're here to get your job done right. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Almost have to check the calendar. 68, 69 for the high this afternoon with a mix of clouds and sunshine. Windy, 79 the record from 1935. Tonight, clouds dominate, rain, and a couple of spot thunderstorms after midnight. Only 52 for the low. Thursday, periods of rain, couple of thunderstorms possible. 62 for the high on Thursday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
aircomfortservice.com. There's your website if you want to visit them. You can always go to aircomfortservice.com and see the different types of rebates that they have available at any given time. One of the things I appreciate the most about Air Comfort Service is kind of their honesty. When I've spoken with Corey before, he's like, it's people aren't like super excited when they call Air Comfort Service about having to replace and it's part of their HVAC system. It's not like you wake up one day and the furnace isn't working or the air conditioner isn't working. You're like, oh, this is fantastic. I get to call Air Comfort today. So their job is to make sure that they get you back into your comfort zone. And at the end of it, you kind of go, all right, well, that wasn't the worst. And they work very hard to make that process as smooth and affordable as they possibly can. That's why I'm talking about the rebates that they have available at any given time and great financing options to make sure that your comfort zone is within reach. They work with people all across the St. Louis Metro, including myself. The whole HVAC system in my house has been seen, worked on, or replaced by Air Comfort Service, and I would invite them back into my home anytime I had an issue in the future because I trust them. You can too. 314-513-0091, online at aircomfortservice.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-652-5241 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-652-5241. That's 800-652-5241. What do you have to lose? Call 800-652-5241. Again, 800-652-5241.
Just imagine being walked all over for 36 years. Who would do that? The great customers of Reinhold Flooring, that's who. For over 3.5 decades, Reinhold Flooring has been the mecca for carpet, hardwood, vinyl, laminate, and area rugs. Reinhold Flooring is customer-driven with a focus on top-quality products and installations from the best team in the business. So come on in and walk all over your next flooring at Reinhold Flooring. Visit them at 5429 Telegraph Road in St. Louis or online at reinholdflooring.com.
Download the free Upside app and earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Download the free Upside app now and use promo code GIFT for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's promo code GIFT.
This is where real local and national accountability happens. This is 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis's home for conservative talk. The Annie Fry Show YouTube live chat poll of the day is sponsored by Ruler Foods. Low prices, no coupons. Ruler Foods.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what you're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not a man.
goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. We're glad that you're here with us. Great conversation with Will Scharf. He was in studio for 2 segments. I almost asked him to stay for a third to talk about Fonnie Willis.
You know what we should do? Take a little break and be like, Will Scharf's coming back in the 2 o'clock hour.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to give him time to catch his breath. I love speaking with him and his insight into the legal concerns that Donald Trump has. We talked about Joe Biden, James Biden, Hunter Biden as well. So if you missed it, check it out on the Annie Fry Show podcast, wherever you get your podcast from. It will be there for you to listen to. The YouTube live chat poll for today is, when was dating harder, in the 1900s or the 2000s? I want to talk about this, and I want to get into this story, but I want to get to something else before we dive deep into the dating conversation, because this is something that I've been watching, and I've had it sent to me by a bazillion people, and it deserves to have your attention be brought to it. And it's a bill that is coming out of the Illinois House, HB 4876, and it's very important that we put this out there. And then we had a packed show today. I'm going to hope to get a guest on. What do we have tomorrow? Tyrus and Hans?
Tyrus and Hans, and I got a request out for a Fox guest.
Okay. Well, I might want to schedule in maybe Blaine Willauer or something, because I've kind of been waiting for this to materialize before I go all in on it, because sometimes I know where my emotions will take me if the information hasn't materialized enough. And I want to make sure I've got my facts in order. But I'm going to read this. Illinois HB 4876. I'm reading this. This is a legislation. I'm not opinionating on this at all yet. Bill title: amends the Abused and Neglected Child Reporting Act. Provides that abused child means a child whose parent or immediate family member or any person responsible for the child's welfare, or any individual residing in the same home as the child, or a paramour of the child's parent, denies the child access to necessary medical care, including but not limited to primary care services, abortion services, or gender-affirming services. Amends the Consent by Minors to Healthcare Services Act, specifies that consent to the performance of abortion services and gender-affirming services executed by a minor is not voidable because of such minority. Provides that a healthcare professional rendering abortion services and gender-affirming services shall not incur civil or criminal liability for failure to obtain valid consent, or professional discipline for failure to obtain valid consent if the healthcare professional relied in good faith on representations made by the minor. Illinois House Bill 4876. This is evil. It has infiltrated the legislature in the state of Illinois. They are now telling parents that you will be guilty of abuse and neglect if you do anything to hinder your child's demand for abortion or gender-affirming care. To the state of Illinois, get your effing hands out of my family's business, away from my children. Mind your own business and your own affairs, because this is child abuse. This is neglect. And the direction that the state of Illinois is taking abortion, the pro-abortion stance, the pro-death stance from the state of Illinois, where they want to be the abortion destination for the Midwest, if not for the country. And now they are stretching that into the idea of gender-affirming care. That if I, as the parent, the person who gave my child life, want to say you will not mutilate your body to become something that in your mind you think that you want to be, I, as your caregiver, as the person who gave you life, who understand that at 12 years old, you think you're going to be a professional baseball player or the next Taylor Swift. I understand your intention. I understand your passion, but I also am going to make sure that you have a plan B. I'm not going to let you go through a plan A that's going to ruin your physical being, and the state of Illinois is going to protect you from me? Illinois House Bill 4876. Get on the phone today and call your representative and hold their feet to the fire. And I'm telling you right now, in Illinois, in Edwardsville, they are looking to put in unisex bathrooms in the high school in Edwardsville. That is Katie Stewart's district. Katie Stewart is a lead on this idea of tampons in boys' bathrooms. She's very, very, very interested, for whatever godforsaken reason, on where children use restrooms and how people use their restrooms. They are looking to, in Katie Stewart's district, to put in unisex bathrooms in the high school. Did you know that? You got a problem with that? You better let her know. If you've got a problem with that and you're in her district and you don't let her know, then it's on you. It's time to get up, it's time to speak up, and it's time to make these people who are representing us understand when they have gone way too far with your emails, with your communications, with your contacts. You have to spread the word on this. The idea that gender-affirming care is a right of a minor child, and that the person of authority in that situation is the state, not the parents? Fighting words, in my opinion. Ryan, you're in the state of Illinois and you've got children. How's this make you feel as a parent?
Honestly, it just makes me sad. I mean, they're coming after you, kids. You can say they're not all day, but the minute you give leftists, far leftists power, this is the kind of stuff they're doing. They are intending to enshrine. What kind of sickness in your head and heart do you have to think, you know what I want to do with this power that I have now is I want to make sure that kids can have sexual reassignment surgeries. That's my priority. I want to make sure that that can happen. And I want to make sure that the parents can't get in the way. And even if they don't, I want to start introducing them to those ideas as much and as early and as often as I can. It's real sick. It's really sick. And the people who have these positions of power have got to, at some point, and it may be years down the road, they're going to look in the mirror and, God willing, they're going to realize that they have really screwed up. I don't know when that happens, but I pray that it happens real soon because it is super screwed up. And they use language like gender-affirming care, which literally means the exact opposite of the words that they're using. It is changing the gender. It is sexual reassignment surgery. That is the opposite of gender-affirming. That is gender-changing. As a parent, I can't believe I could look at my kid and say, the government is coming between you and I. Now, that won't happen between me and my kids, but the government is intending for it to happen.
I don't understand what they're doing, but my question to you, if you're a parent out there, if you're a parent in Illinois, how much farther are you going to let this government go? You have an opportunity every 2 years to change it up, and yet you keep electing the same people who now are going to get in between you and your kid, and they're going to tell you, you don't know what to do as a parent. We know. This is the ultimate arrogance, and like Annie said, this is evil. There's no other explanation for this. There's no other explanation for this. I work with kids on a daily basis. I'm a youth pastor, as many of you know, and one of the things that is like firmly ingrained in my being is who I am. My job is not to replace the parent. My job is to assist the parent. And I always, always, always look at somebody who thinks their job is to get in between parents and their children and wonder, who are you?
A predator.
Exactly. I don't like when teachers do it. I don't like when friends do it. I really don't like it whenever a parent does it. So when are we going to stand up and say, hey, enough is enough. You all are out of a job. Go find something else to do. Democrat, Republican, whatever. I don't care what your political party is. This is not the role of the government. Stand up and do something.
It's really absolutely disgusting. And I'm going to read it for you one more time because we really need to understand what the state of Illinois is doing. And I have said this, we are the petri dish for obsessive, aggressive leftist woke policies in the state of Illinois because nobody pays attention when Illinois does it. I do. You do. And to a comment here from a listener, Scooter, of course, the last time this came up, the 3 Illinois residents wouldn't move out of Illinois. Give me a freaking break, Scooter. You bitch and moan about everything going on in the Republican-led state of Missouri, and you're still there. I'm going to fight. I'm going to bring a spotlight to this. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to give you opportunities to contact the people who are representing those areas in our listenership where you can go and be a part of a solution and fight back. The idea that you cut and run, that's what losers do, Scooter. And I'm not interested in doing that myself. I'm interested in shining a spotlight and pushing back and telling people to get back in the realm of reality. And I know that's a hard concept for some people who only give a crap about politics, that the only thing that you invest your time in is winning a political battle. I get that. I understand that way of thinking. I understand that it's prevalent, especially with keyboard warriors and reply guys that exist all over the internet. But that's not what we're doing here. This is actually meaningful conversation. This is actually being put out there for people in the state of Illinois who aren't paying attention to the ins and outs of a Democrat supermajority of people in the House and the Democrat supermajority of people in the Senate, and J.B. Pritzker, who thinks that the border is a problem because of Governor Abbott. These are the people who we're dealing with right now in the state of Missouri. And yeah, Illinois has voted, or excuse me, in the state of Illinois. And the people of Illinois have voted to put those people in charge. They need to understand that their votes do have consequences. And they sound a lot like Illinois House Bill 4876. Amends the Abused and Neglected Child Reporting Act, provides the abused child means a child whose parent or immediate family member or any person responsible for the child's welfare or any individual residing in the same home as the child or a paramour of the child's parent denies the child access to necessary medical care, including but not limited to primary care services, abortion services, or gender-affirming services. Amends the Consent by Minors to Healthcare Services Act, specifies the consent to the performance of abortion services and gender-affirming services executed by a minor is not voidable because of such minority, provides that a healthcare professional rendering abortion services and gender-affirming services shall not incur civil or criminal liability for failure to obtain valid consent or professional discipline for failure to obtain valid consent if the healthcare professional relied in good faith on representatives made by the minor. This is what a Democrat supermajority looks like. And yeah, I might be in the minority in Illinois. Yeah, I might have a big problem with what the General Assembly barfs all over the state of Illinois every time they pass legislation. And J.B. Pritzker from his high mansion in the city of Chicago, not in where the people have put the governor's mansion, in the city of Springfield, lords himself over everybody. Because why? The Chicago way. Because the Chicago way has gotten us to where we are. It's not what's reflective of Southern Illinois. And I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm out, peace out, I don't care about my home. I'm going to say I'm going to fight. And I will turn the lights off when I leave if I'm the last one to go. Proving that I want to continue my residence in my home where my children are raised 10 minutes from their grandparents because, yeah, family is more important than anything. Having my children be raised by family is so important to me that I'm willing to withstand the bull crap that they shovel out of Springfield with every piece of legislation that they write and Governor J.B. Pritzker has to sign in Chicago. Yeah, I'm willing to stay there and fight against it. And I'm not going to cut and run like a loser because, oh, this is not what's good for my family. I will fight. And when I've decided that Illinois has crossed the line and I can't fight anymore and I need to move my family out of the state, Scooter and everybody else out there who wants to criticize me for bringing a spotlight to these things and staying in Illinois, I'll let you know. You'll be the first to know because I'll be talking about it right here. When I leave, you'll know there's no fight left in me or there's no fight left in the state of Illinois. Are we there yet? We are not. I will fight back. And I hope that anybody who's listening to me right now, anybody who is agreeing with anything that I'm saying right now about Illinois House Bill 4876 will get on the phone and call their legislator in this break that we're about to take right now and make sure that they understand how pissed off you are that the state of Illinois wants to wedge itself in between you and how you raise your children. If you don't have children, if your children are grown, imagine what happens when your grandkids are part of the equation or your neighbor's kids are part of the equation. Your voice matters. My voice matters. Our voice matters collectively, but you have to choose to be a part of the solution. I don't have anything left to say. Or breath.
Just so you know, we're giving away James Taylor tickets all day today. We'll be doing another ticket
all day.
giveaway.
Just on the show,
Just
right?
on the show. I mean, all day on the show.
Congratulations to Wentzville.
Keith?
Wentzville Keith.
Wentzville Keith. Wentzville Keith doesn't have to deal with his
Out there in
bologna
God's
sausage.
country.
Yeah, that's what everybody says over there. You know, it's funny when I've heard people in Illinois talk about it being God's country out there and be corrected by people in St. Charles. They're like, oh, no.
This is God's
It's,
country.
and I'm like,
I've heard that too.
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was God's country TM, but here we are.
Just
All
saying,
right.
I'm not telling you to call now, okay? Hold your horses. We're just going to give away another pair of tickets in this hour. I'm just warning you.
Wendy on YouTube says, Annie, I wish your reading and explanation of this was a small video we could share on social media.
Well.
Have I got news for you?
Leah?
Make sure you're following the Annie Fry Show, the Annie Fry YouTube page, and there will be something up there shortly.
Let's talk about dating in the 1900s when we come back.
Oh, okay.
Play the music. We got to go. Yeah, we'll be right back.
The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Yeah, I get that when you go through winter, you're waiting for a day like today to go back outside and start to grill. Well, it is awesome today, almost 70 degrees. So if you're just you can't wait to get the grill back out. You know, it's not going to stay like this, but today would be a great day to grab a bottle of Andrea's sauce on your way home and grab some steaks and make a night of it. It is awesome. We did that the other night, actually. Now, we didn't go grill, but we made our steaks inside. And honestly, it was not a great cut of meat. But that's actually okay. When you have Andrea's sauce, we actually let that stuff marinate all day and then cooked it in the evening. And a really average to poor cut of meat ended up being a pretty good steak, flat iron steak we had, because Andrea's sauce is that good at tenderizing and just kind of getting into that meat and changing the flavor and the texture. So get a bottle of Andrea's sauce. Let it do a lot of the work for you. It's a brush-on steak sauce. If you've never had it, it is a St. Louis original. It is a St. Louis staple. You can get it at Schnucks and Dierberg's and some great stores around the area. You can also pick up a bottle always at andreas.com.
You can admit it, you're obsessed with the news, but you don't want to be that person watching TV waiting for the next news story to break. So use your ears instead with the free Odyssey app. With this station available on the free Odyssey app, you can get your local news and discover news stations from around the country. And with hundreds of podcasts also available, you can go deep into the topics you care about. Download the free Odyssey app wherever you get your apps to get the news you crave. Your news fix, your Odyssey.
Have you ever been sitting around or driving like you're probably doing right now? Man, I think I need a new furnace or an air conditioner. Have you? I mean, I think about you thinking about it all the time. Regardless of what's going on right now with the economy and with these mandates and the prices going absolutely crazy, I would have to say, without a question, the best time to buy is actually right now. No gimmicks, no tricks. 5 years, no interest on a furnace and air conditioner. Get your prices, get your quotes, get your monthly payments, and then call me and find out where you can make your choice and you can still get the so-called inefficient models. Call me, Bart Inman, one easy number, Missouri and Illinois, 314-293-2600. Again, the easiest number, Missouri and Illinois, and your only number, 314-293-2600 or bartinman.com. Now that is Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com.
AMCO presents Bet You Didn't Know.
Bet you didn't know that your car's transmission is made up of 800 pieces. Also, bet you didn't know that AMCO's fixed over 40 million transmissions and that AMCO offers a nationwide warranty.
AMCO offers easy payment plan options for most any credit situation, so you can fix it fast and pay it off slow at AMCO.
That's AMCO, AA-MCO.
Human trafficking is happening right here in Missouri. You can help combat it by learning the signs of human trafficking and reporting suspicious activity to law enforcement. Victims may appear malnourished, show signs of physical or mental abuse, or avoid social interaction. If you're a victim or know someone who needs help, contact the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888 or text the word HELP to Be Free. Together, we can stop human trafficking in Missouri.
Brought to you by the Missouri Attorney General's Office.
You've been listening to the very popular Wellness One for many years, Saturdays and Sundays on 97.1 FM Talk. We're happy to share that we've expanded the show to 4 times a week. Yes, 4 times every weekend. Saturday at 10 a.m., Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. It's the same great show designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you a common sense, science-based strategy for a healthy life. So join TJ and Aaron for Wellness One. Now 4 times a week on 97.1 FM Talk.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is proud to support Greater St. Louis Honor Flight. Sign your veteran up for the Honor Flight today at gslhonorflight.org. And for heating services, visit aircomfortservice.com.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules. There's a music station that fits your taste at Odyssey.com. Download the app for instant access to hundreds of music stations and listen live to 97.1 FM Talk. The Odyssey app. Download it or stream from 971talk.com.
Tumble out of bed and I stumble to the kitchen. Pour myself a cup of ambition and yawn and stretch and try to come to life. Jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping. I don't
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Folks like me on the job from 9 to 5. Working 9 to 5.
It's hard to interrupt Dolly when Dolly is dollying, partoning.
Mm-hmm.
Can you sing the song?
I've never heard this one.
What? He's full
Lies.
of Leah, don't get suckered into that.
Is this new?
Yeah, it's new.
Huh.
It's written by Taylor Swift.
So she's covering a Taylor Swift song? Or
Yeah.
Did she write this specifically for Dolly?
Taylor Swift wrote it, and I think Dolly stole it from her.
Oh, ouch.
Taylor Swift does not know anything about working 9 to 5.
Are you saying she works shorter hours or longer hours?
Longer.
Doesn't work.
She doesn't work at all.
Are you kidding me?
She didn't work a 9 to 5 job.
Well, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Right, Annie?
Shut up.
Right, Brad?
YouTube live chat poll. While we have some folks gathered there on the Annie Fry YouTube channel, come over and hang out with us there and leave a vote in today's poll. When was dating harder, in the 1900s or the 2000s? When I came across, when I was thinking about like how to delineate this poll, it's really, in my mind, it's really pre-digital, post-digital. But it's hard to put a number on that. Like, when was it harder to date? Before 1996 or after? But so you had said in your Weekends America, you had a story, and it was kind of along these lines. And I was thinking about that because there's a lot of stuff that we discuss on a daily basis, generationally so, that is very much so affected by the digital space.
Yeah, the story was Gen Z is rejecting dating apps to meet romantic partners organically, which is cool because that's as the digital world has kind of become more and more part of our regular existence. I think that the stats are that the vast majority of people meet their significant others now digitally rather than originally. So I got to ask you, though, with this poll question, I need some clarification. Do you mean the 1900s, the entire century, and the 2000s, this century?
Yes, I mean,
Okay.
I mean 1901 as well as 29.99.
Just making sure. Just making sure. No, it wouldn't be 2099.
29.99.
That's a millennium.
The 2000s would include 29.99.
Yeah, if we're talking about full millennia, that would be the case. I just said century. So 1900s and 2000s would be up to
I'm saying that
2099.
if you were asking the question
Yes.
to make this complicated, because I just explained exactly what I meant by digital age versus non-digital age, then we can just go for 1900, 1901, and we can also go to $29.99 if you want to make it that complicated.
I do. But
Great,
to answer,
that's very helpful for the discussion that we're having on this poll.
So when I answered this question, I would say then, no doubt, it would be the 2000s. Because in the 1900s, pre-digital, you may have had different social rules, but I also don't think that those were bad social rules.
Like, for instance, what?
Like the approach that a man makes to a woman.
Women's suffrage.
If we're using the century, then that'd be a great place to pick up ladies.
Women really knew their place.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that amendment.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to get that out there.
I honestly could see where you'd be coming from in the current situation.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
the broad consequence.
There was
the 19th Amendment.
Exactly. Broad consequences. That's the way you'd put that.
Broad consequences.
And so I think that there's a lot to be said specifically to dating, that when the song and dance, the cat and mouse thing, that goes away a little bit online. I think that there's so much fake, you can put out a facade that's not really you. And it has to be a lot harder to go through that now than to just walk up to somebody and either get absolutely denied, which I understand fairly well, or
Ryan.
or get the yes.
Just saying.
And, put it all on the line in person. And then there's real chemistry more in person. It's not that you can't eventually meet after you've met digitally, but I think there's a lot more to be said in person meeting, that it is so much easier to do than digitally.
Well, and I think that the idea that everything digital all predates the eventual you have to meet in person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about if you meet in person, it's what do you think that you know upon that first in-person interaction. If you're in a digital age, then you can kind of pare some stuff down if you trust the system. And I think that there are trustworthy systems out there to help that. But there's also nefarious people participating in the digital age. But I've been in bars before I was married. There are, I know this will come as a shock to you, some people with bad intentions in the bar who are looking to make a connection.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like that doesn't exist on either side. Brad, what do you think?
I keep going back and forth on this. I mean, I see the dangers, and I really don't want to date anymore. I don't want to date anyone. I just want my marriage to work out and to, stay married.
It's working out.
Yes, it's great.
So Brad saw the question of the day, said,
Okay.
when was dating harder? And he goes, oh, dear Lord, I hope my marriage works out. That was your first thought.
Yeah,
Okay.
well,
Mrs.
dating
Range is
not an
lovely.
option.
Dating for me was never easy. And I mean, I dated in the 1900s, and I've dated in the 2000s.
Mhm.
Sounds so old.
I did it back in the 1900s, too.
I did too.
Yeah.
And like to Ryan's point, I don't know if it's easier whenever you meet somebody first, you have to be able to go to a place where you're going to meet people. You have to find where people are congregating and meet.
That's a good point. You technically don't have to go be around people ever to date online.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem.
I know people, I kid you not, and I don't know them well enough to know their names, which is great because they're like friends of friends, but they met through World of Warcraft. And then they got married, and basically their lives revolved around World of Warcraft. That story is 8 years old, and I have no idea if those two people are still married, and I highly doubt it. But that is one of the weirdest relationships. It was so digital.
Is it possible they're listening right now?
No, they don't live around here.
Odyssey app, you can take it anywhere.
Whoops.
But yeah, so there, like you got to go to a place where you're going to meet people. I'm not a drinker, so guess where I wasn't hanging out? It's the bars.
The water fountain.
I don't go to the bars.
Yeah, he wasn't even
Never
close
did.
to a water fountain.
So there was a unique challenge there for me. Where do I meet somebody? And if it wasn't at college or if it wasn't at school, I'm running out of options. Now I ended up meeting my wife at church, which, hey, I
Good
highly
place to be.
recommend.
Yeah.
Highly recommend. But then then you look at the 2000s or in the digital age, everything about you is online. You have a huge digital footprint, and the times have changed so quickly from 2001 to 2023, 2024. There might be stuff online about you that you have evolved as a person, but that's still on there because you had a Facebook or whatever. People research you now. I mean, Annie, if you were dating and some guy wanted to meet you, do you or do you not Google their name?
I don't think that existed when I was dating.
But I mean, like now, would you or would you not?
If I were dating now, oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So there's
Google. Google is for amateurs.
Yeah. My name is Jim Smith.
Now the other side of this is you only get one chance to make a first impression on somebody. And whenever you're meeting somebody in person, there are a lot more elements that are outside of your control than there are whenever you meet somebody for the first time online. And you can actually get somebody to meet the person online, I think, easier than you could in person, because the first impression you make in person is a physical one. People look at you and they see you. They'll see you coming. I don't know how much of a role that plays to girls, but as a guy, it was important to me. So I don't know. I think dating's just hard.
Well, that is very important to establish that. Leah, I would assume, what year, can we ask, you mind saying what year you were born?
97.
97. Any dating in the 90s? No, I didn't think
fair.
So you probably only heard the tales of what it was like to date before apps and all of that stuff. Does it sound in your mind, Leah, like dating would have been easier back then, or do you feel like technology has made it easier now?
I think it would have been easier back then. I don't know. Just because I have, when I was younger, I did make the rounds on a lot of the dating apps, and they were bad, back then, and they've gotten even worse. Like the people on there, I'm sure there's some lovely guys out there, but the majority of the guys on those dating apps are trash. And
if they're real, right?
I've talked to some of them, and majority of them have bad intentions, and I don't think that was the case when dating apps first came out. I think everybody was real, and it was like a real thing.
Does it matter? I don't know how much experience you have with this, or how much experience you maybe have with because I can think of people in my life, I think that they were on eHarmony. What's the other one that's kind of more mainstream and not like a Tinder? Match.com. Yeah, I know people who have met on that, and they're very happily married, and they are very well suited.
My parents met on eHarmony.
Yeah, it's you can as a Christian, and I see the people in my life who met there who are Christians, that was part of their profile. They were able to find people who matched them. And I think that's a good thing. But going back to what Brad was saying, you said you met your wife at church, that before all of the digital stuff came into play, you were in places where your interests were a priority. So you were at a Cardinals baseball game. You were at a family event. And
I actually met my wife going to indie concerts reunion that absolutely sucked.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, but we were both doing it. So,
but you might be at a family party where people are bringing in friends and family, and you might meet someone who has common interests with your family. You might be at church, and if you're meeting people at church, then you obviously have one of the things that is of the utmost importance to you, hopefully the most important to you, in common from the jump. And those commonalities, like really when it gets down to it and you're dating, the most important thing is that you care about the same things as the most important things. For my like when I was dating, faith, number one, family, number two, wanting to make sure that the person who I eventually was with had that same goal of wanting to get married and respected the idea of what marriage meant and starting a family and truly wanting to kind of stay around this area because I didn't want to pick up and leave and relocate and move a bunch of places. Those were all important things to me. And I was put in places where there were similar people to me that I could meet. If you're on the internet, you can check all the boxes that say that, I'm a Christian and I would only want to date Christians. I assume that that's on there. I'm a Catholic. Maybe I only want to date Catholics or whatever it is. So you can pare all those people down, but there's also people who can check those things to meet if there's a different end that they're trying to get to that would be affected.
Yeah, it's interesting. I thinking back to the criteria that I would have had, it's like it's so much easier to list criteria when they're giving you the boxes online. But I still had some. I don't know that I would have written them down, but Christ First would have been the number one because I just don't know how anybody and I could not, we have to have the foundational beliefs be the same to get through the tough stuff. I'm sure you can make a marriage work without both of you having that same foundation. I'm sure it's possible, but it's tough.
I would think it would be
very,
hard.
very tough. And so that was a priority for us, for me anyway. And then second, I just wanted to have somebody I wanted to be around. That was pretty much it. It was those two things. I really like her. I want to be around her. And we have shared Christian values. And then after that, it was prayer. Like, is this what God wants us to do? And so that was pretty much it. I didn't go through all the box checking. I kind of like that because you don't have to use their criteria. You can come up with your own.
I really think that one of the things that we said, or maybe Ryan, you said earlier, it might have been in Wiggins America where this conversation started, is that the idea of intimacy, which is not always sexual, it's actually more than that, that the idea of the existence of intimacy is something that has been stripped away from every relationship that we have. And we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to tell you a story about how that has happened. This is weird, but follow me on this. The St. Louis Cardinals have made a comment. One of the St. Louis Cardinals have made a comment about how this same kind of situation had affected them. I'm going to bring that to the conversation when we come back, and I want to make sure we get your feedback on the Annie Fry YouTube channel. When was dating harder, the 1900s or the 2000s? Go let us know why you voted the way you did in the comments. Leave your vote in the live chat poll, and we'll be back with the results when we come back.
The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Hi, this is Thomas Helbig with the Retirement Advisory Group.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw. As a family business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you are nearing retirement or already retired. What if it were possible to protect you from market downturns without having to make an emotional decision to buy or sell? What if you could take advantage of a strategy that would automatically take you out of harm's way during the bad years and position you for the growth opportunity during the good years?
The secret is in linking safely to the market without putting your principal at risk. By linking to the market instead of owning the market, you can participate safely on autopilot and lock in your gains without creating a taxable event. Go online at retirementkey.com for a no-obligation retirement review. We'll teach you the strategy that has helped our clients retire with confidence for the past 38 years. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. So go online at retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Your garage door is always there for you, rain or shine. Are you taking your garage door for granted? Is it screeching and whining for attention? Trust Overhead Door Company of St. Louis to keep your garage door reliable. Maybe the old weather stripping needs replaced to keep out the cold and hot air. Call Overhead Door Company of St. Louis, trusted here since 1926. For same-day service, call 314-781-5200 and schedule online at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Need a break from the sound bites and the talking heads? Do you want information you can actually use? Information that'll change your life for the better? Then listen to the Del Walmsley Radio Show.
Listen to the Del Walmsley Radio Show this Saturday afternoon from 1 to 2 p.m. on 97.1 FM Talk.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles, with an auto warranty about to expire, or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost, month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-674-2189 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-674-2189. That's 800-674-2189. What do you have to lose? Call 800-674-2189. Again, 800-674-2189.
The time is 2:47. It is time to give away another pair of James Taylor tickets at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater on June 6th. The phone number, if you want to call to win those tickets right now, 314-241-9797. 314-241-9797. Be the 13th caller, and you will get a pair of free tickets to James Taylor at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater on June 6th. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. Good afternoon. A stunning new development in the situation with a 90-year-old grandma who volunteered for the MS Society for 60 years and was sent packing because she wouldn't use gender pronouns. I'll have all the details coming up.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. We've been discussing the YouTube live chat poll for today. When was dating harder, the 1900s or the 2000s? A couple comments here from listeners. Russell said, I voted 1900s. I was dating my future wife during the late 80s and early 1990s. Hardest thing about dating her was her dad. He was so nice. And then there's a cussing emoji.
Okay. He was being sarcastic.
I'd like to know more, Russell. Joe said dating is harder in the 2000s, but it was smellier in the 1900s. I think he was going back to the early 1900s.
I don't know. Maybe the late 1900s, depending on where you were.
RSG said, I'll say the 2000s because my wife thinks it's a bad idea. Okay, I get it. Quick Rick said, I've only ever dated in the 60s and the 70s. It was a little more challenging to me, I think. I had to actually introduce myself in person. There were no fake personas. What you saw was what you got. I think there's a lot to that. George said, I would say the 1900s. I looked much better back then. I guess he's saying that'd be easier then. Sheepdog said, I was dating in the 70s, got married in the 80s. My wife won't let me date anymore, so I can't speak to the 2000s. And Gus says, harder in the 1900s. If you were just looking for a hookup, way easier in the 2000s. That doesn't mean it's a good thing. The meaningfulness, which again is what we're talking about with like intimacy, the idea of actual real connection that is beyond just a physical connection, that with the digital age, some of that can be lost. Now, if you start a conversation with somebody who you pair up with real well and you actually have meaningful conversation before you actually physically decide to go get a cup of coffee together. So it's not that could flip that theory on its head. Who knows? I read this from clutchpoints.com, which is a blog, I assume, about the Cardinals. I've never heard of them before, but it was an interesting article. There's been a lot of conversation about the clubhouse last year. The St. Louis Cardinals obviously had a pretty awful year last year. Mm-hmm. And one of the signings that they made in the offseason, which kind of had everybody go, what? Was Matt Carpenter back on the roster. Now, Matt Carpenter has had some great success after he left the St. Louis Cardinals. Who knows what this season will bring, but one of the things that parts of that element of bringing Matt Carpenter back was that they wanted to have more veterans in the clubhouse. They wanted to have people who had been there before, people who could lead. Well, according to clutchpoints.com, and I want to credit Jay Postrato, who is the author of this, Nolan Arenado has taken a big role for the St. Louis Cardinals at spring training. He has become one of the leaders of the squad, along with Paul Goldschmidt, even after John Mozeliak got Matt Carpenter as a veteran back in January. However, it was his comments about the younger players that caught the attention of most individuals. Even Miles Michaelis took notice and added to the flame via Foul Territory, which is A.J. Brzezinski's video podcast, which is very good. I enjoy it, on X. This is what Miles Michaelis said, quote, "It's tougher to connect to younger generations. You want to play ping pong against these guys. And some of the younger guys sit around their phones a lot, and it's a lot of social media. I'd rather sit there and play some card games. Younger players can be tough to approach as well. You don't see things the same way or at the same level." When I read that, I thought, how interesting that these articles that we read and talk about, like boomers and Gen Z in the same place at the same time, how will it ever work out? Of course, they're not boomers in the Cardinals clubhouse, but, maybe Adam Wainwright last year might have been the, you have dog years, you have baseball players, you're the equivalent to a boomer in the clubhouse to somebody who is, fresh out of the minor leagues or whatever, that those generational differences that exist right now, specifically with a post-digital generation and people who understood still what it was like to be raised in a world that wasn't controlled. I literally remember when they started putting websites on commercials and thinking it was weird. And they would have http://www.971fmtalk.com instead of just 971fmtalk.com.
I remember seeing businesses starting to put, "We're on Facebook."
Yeah.
Like, oh, neat.
Yeah. And Facebook was created
follow my
when
bank.
I was a sophomore in college. So the idea that the St. Louis Cardinals, Brad, I thought you might want to comment on this, have had trouble connecting in the clubhouse because they're just from
different eras.
There's this delineation of digital where younger people don't have any understanding of life without it. You can't really fault them for it.
No. Man, that when Miles Michaelis said you just want to play ping pong with these guys, the first thing in my head was like, yeah, I'll play ping pong.
Yeah. Brad's takeaway is, I'll play ping pong with you, Mr. Michaelis.
But
I actually thought the same thing,
Yeah.
Brad.
but that's just it.
Yeah.
Ryan and I are from that same kind of era, that pre-digital era where there was these other things that you do. And it really just has, I don't know, it seems to be having a bigger effect than we actually realize, because this is, we're talking about sports, but sports is kind of a microcosm of society at large.
Or relationships in general.
Yeah.
Because those are relationships in a clubhouse where you are spending a lot of time, a long season, 162 games with the same people, and you got to figure out how to make it work.
And it's not just the Cardinals. This is probably happening in every sport. The Cardinals have talked about the Cardinal way for a long time. This would be a challenge to that, though.
And to a manager in the clubhouse and to an ownership to say, we need to put all the right pieces together. And if you can hit a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, then we need you. And this guy who's 37 needs to be able to hit that fastball with this guy who's 20 or 19. Or like Mason Wynn and Jordan Walker, they're like 20 years old or something like that.
Yeah, super young. It's very interesting because, you also see this in other sports, too. You see Miles Michaelis trying to connect with members of his team because this is what he's always done. This is what he wants to do. He wants to connect on a personal level. But you almost wonder, he said the other players are more interested in social media and stuff like that. When you talk to somebody that's younger about their social media, those are their people. That is their people.
Yeah.
That is their squad. That is who they are connected with.
And it's not an in-person relationship.
And that comes to kind of, I don't want to say conflict, but you can't connect with somebody that's not interested in connecting.
Yeah. Well, the YouTube live chat poll is kind of centered around this in a wraparound kind of a way. When was dating harder, in the 1900s or the 2000s? Brian, your answer?
2000s.
Leah, your answer?
2000s.
Brad?
I'm going to say the 1900s.
I'm going to say 2000s as well. We have 75% of you said 2000s.
Nice.
And I would imagine that of those people who voted today, most of them were also dating in the 1990s. So it's kind of interesting and important, I think, to understand that the digital influence has made things more difficult for a generation. It's important to remember that when you're taking into consideration building relationships with them. Stick around, the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis's home for conservative talk, next.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Hey guys, Glover here with my very, very good friend, Dr. Kathy Maupin at BioBalanceHealth.com. If you have reached that certain age and you're just not feeling very well and nothing's working the way it used to work, go see Dr. Kathy. She is not only a medical doctor, she is a patient of this bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. It absolutely works. It's a long-term solution. She is an artist when it comes to helping you with your hormones. BioBalanceHealth.com for Dr. Kathy Maupin.
Okay, so you filed your taxes this year, but you know you have past IRS issues. And now the IRS letters are coming. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. Don't ignore those IRS letters. They're important and give you rights and deadlines to defend yourself.